can call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. I see we have a full house here this evening, and welcome. We have two agendas that we're going to be entertaining this evening, and I'm sure each and every one of you are going to stay here for the entire agenda. No? We have our committee of the whole agenda this evening, as well as our council meeting, and we're going to start off with a prayer from Councillor David Elliott, and that's going to be followed by the St. John Bosco Catholic School Choir. So what I'm going to do before Councillor Elliott stands and says the prayer is I'm going to ask St. John Bosco to come on forward, and they're all going to line up right in front of us here at the front here. So if all you boys and girls want to come on up here.
Right here. Okay.
Now, Ms. McPherson, this is all grades. This is all grades. Excellent. Okay, Councillor Elliott, if you want to start us off with a prayer. Everybody can stand, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just ask that your presence is here with us tonight as we go about the business of making decisions that impact the city. Keep it mindful that we hear everybody's point of view and that we accept and debate and we make decisions that are best for this city. Heavenly Father, we also ask that you keep in our prayers, or we keep in our prayers, the family of Dan Aquilina. Dan's mother passed away this past week, and we just commit her to you and ask that you offer peace and grace to his family. And Father, while we celebrate the birth of your Son, Jesus Christ, this coming season, we just ask that you protect all the families as they commute from home to home to share in the joy, to exchange gifts, to dine and have fellowship with friends and family. So Father, keep us all safe. We ask for peace, harmony, goodwill towards men. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank and appreciate St. John Bosco School for coming out this evening and blessing us with their rendition of O Canada. And now they're going to give us a few Christmas songs. Ms. McPherson, it's all yours.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the house.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about another hand for St. John Bosco Elementary School? Guys, that was fantastic. Thank you very much, and have a great, great Christmas. Folks, we're now going to move on with our agenda. If I can have a motion to, first of all, do we have any addendum items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there are two addendum items this evening. The first is email correspondence from Gordon Baker related to item 13 on this evening's agenda. This is a report concerning the request from Nyan Oil Inc. for the City of Port Colborne to consider approval of a new access from Highway 140 to the proposed Energy Park lands. The email concerns comments from landowners on Klein-Smith Road, and copies have been distributed to you and to staff and will be included in the minutes. The second addendum item is in relation to item 1, engineering and operations report concerning a detailed streetscape design for the downtown CIP. The addendum item is a comment sheet from the Public Information Center held on November 22nd concerning the downtown Central Business District CIP. Copies have been distributed to you and will be filed with the minutes as well.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of Council, I need a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Bodner. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? With none, we'll move on to items requiring separate discussion. Members of Council. Councillor Elliott.
1289. Sorry, 1289.
Councillor Steele. Councillor Butters.
Item 13, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, he did. Any further items, members? Councillor Danch.
Item 10.
Further items, members? With none, if I can have a motion to receive the remainder of the items listed on the agenda. Councillor Desmarais, seconder. Councillor Elliott, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We now have some presentations that I'll be making from the podium. Members of Council, it's once again a pleasure on your behalf, and more importantly on behalf of the citizens of Port Colborne, to take this opportunity this evening to recognize some of the youth that we have throughout our community, youth that are very talented, not only artistic, but also athletic. So we have a great evening this evening to recognize the many youngsters throughout the city of Port Colborne. And what a crowd we had, and we still have. I thought everyone was going to stick around for the council meeting. I know you guys will, right? But this has to be my favorite evening of the year before Christmas, because we get once again a chance to celebrate the youth of our community. And first, it's my privilege on your behalf to recognize, not only on your behalf but on behalf of members of City Council, the winners of our annual Christmas card design contest that I hold every year annually to in fact design our Christmas card. Our Christmas card does go worldwide. We have about 1,200 cards that go out to those folks that have become friends of Port Colborne throughout the past many years. And this year we received several hundred entries from schools across the city of Port Colborne, and for the first time the 5 winners are actually from different schools. And I have to tell you this, when I look at all the entries, I don't look at the names or the schools or the grades or the ages. I simply take the cards that most reflect the community during our Christmas season, our holiday season, and with that I pick about 10 and then shortlist it to about 8 and then try to get down to 5, which is very difficult, and then I flip them over and see who they are, who they're from, ages and grades. And this year, like every year, it was extremely difficult, but there was in fact 5 that stood out simply because they really represented a community Christmas here in the city of Port Colborne. Each of the winners will receive a framed Christmas card that I have behind me and I'll be presenting to them, as well as they will get some blank cards to send to their friends and family and a blow-up of their picture that they created. And these you might have seen during the Christmas parade this past or a few weeks ago that in fact adorned the mayor's float with, of course, the kids and some of their friends on the float with them to show off their art, which is going to be in fact part of our Christmas card this year. So first off, I'm going to bring up an individual that many of you I'm sure know, an individual from Oakwood Public School, Miss Haley McCullough. Haley, where are you? Haley's not here. She must be working on next year's card. Okay. Haley, for your information, Haley drew a picture. This is the picture right here. I'm not sure if you folks can see it, but it is a picture of the Port Colborne General Hospital. And it's unfortunate that Haley's not here. I guess I'll get to her tomorrow, the following day, to give her picture as well as the plaque that we made for her. It just when I seen that, it just goes to show you how important our hospital is to the community and even to the youngsters. And for Haley to come forward with that, it was extra special. And of course, once again, representing not only the community, but some of the issues that we're dealing with in this community at this present time. The next individual I want to call up is Mariah Robinson. Mariah is a grade 8 student. Shut up, Mariah. Mariah is a grade 8 student from Dewitt Carter School. If any of you guys got hit in the head with a candy cane at the parade, it was Mariah. But Mariah was kind enough to come on the float and spend the evening during the parade with some of her friends. Mariah, she drew this one right here. This is a picture of the hub. And I have to say, one of the things I liked about this picture was not only the picture of the hub where a lot of the youth hang out, but also it reflects Charlotte Street. It has Merry Christmas on it. Christmas delivers, or deliveries, which is very appropriate because it just shows how much the community is together, how we work shoulder to shoulder to ensure that everyone, whether it's at the hub, whether it's delivering Christmas gifts downtown, and of course it shows what Port Colborne's all about during the Christmas season. So with that, you get to bring this home. Keep this. That's yours. Well, I have some cards in here.
Thank you.
And also what we did here is we framed the card. So you see the front of the card as well as the inside of the card. And of course, Rye signed it to you, and a little plaque here commemorating your fine artistic work. Now, Mariah as well as Haley were on the inside of the card. And when you open the card up, they're on the inside. And of course with the two others, and then the one in the front is the one you see right here. So Mariah, congratulations. Great job. Well done. Okay. Next, I would like to call up a second-time winner, Alexandra Cloak. Alexandra is a grade 7 student at St. Patrick's Catholic Elementary School. Now, here's what Alexandra did. And once again, can you guys all guess what this is? The Tennessee Gates. And of course, the history of Port Colborne, from Port Colborne. And one of the things that I liked about this is, like I said earlier, this card goes across the entire world. And for people to recognize some parts of the city, some of the attributes and strengths of the city of Port Colborne is a real benefit to us. So to Alexandra, great job. Wonderful. Once again, second place. Second year in a row. I have this for you as well. There you go. And we have the plaque for you. Want to count that? Yeah, okay. And get your dad off his chair over there. Now, Clarker, can you draw that well? You can't? No? Just with a hockey stick, maybe? Yeah. The next individual I'd like to call up is Megan Sardella. Megan is a grade 4 student at St. John Bosco Catholic Elementary School, and Megan drew an indoor Christmas scene with a picture on the wall with scenes from the city of Port Colborne, and I'm going to go grab it for you right now, Megan. I'll be right back. You sang too, didn't you? Now, how impressive is this for a grade 4 student? And it shows. Good. Good job. Good job. Good job. That's a great picture. It's a great picture. And again, it's showing Port Colborne, showing family, and of course what the holidays are all about. Megan, just a wonderful job. Wonderful job. You should be very proud of yourself. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. We're going to give you this. And we got some cards here for you. And I'll take this for you. You can take this, okay? Got it. Want to say a speech or anything? No speech? Yeah. Good job. And finally, it's a pleasure to call up once again and another winner for second year in a row. And second year in a row, she actually got on the cover. Is an individual from St. Therese Catholic Elementary School, Desiree McEachern. A grade 7 student, by the way. And I tell you, when you look at this picture, you can see the depth that's in this picture. Just phenomenal. And Desiree, you got me again. That's 2 years in a row you got me. But just a wonderful job. So we have here for you some cards here. And the second one. There you go. Congratulations. Well done. Great job. There you go. You want to take this with you? Nice big frame and great living room. It's perfect. And you have last year's too. There you go, hon. Great job. Okay, Desiree, you got to tell me, where do you have last year's?
You know where it is? In the basement.
Well, to all you guys, great job this year. Thank you very much. The cards are just going out. The cards are just on their way out now, as soon as I get to sign all 1,200 of them. But they're on their way out now, and they're going worldwide. So your art is going to be recognized everywhere from Italy to China to Japan, Germany, Oshikati, Namibia, and of course all throughout Canada, United States. So once again, thank you very much for taking the time. We look forward to seeing all your art back here next year again. And once again, great job. Great job. Now, we have some of our older youth to recognize today. It's a great pleasure today to recognize the Lakeshore Catholic High School Gators senior football team. As many of you may have read in the media, the Lakeshore Catholic High School Gators senior football team once again brought home the OFSA football championship, and 2012 was no different. It's a proud moment as the mayor of this community to be able to brag, boast, and be very proud of a football team from a small city like Port Colborne that can go out and beat teams from across the Golden Horseshoe, such as those in Niagara Falls, as well as Hamilton, and of course Burlington. For you folks that may have not have read the sports section or even the front page of the Tribune of late, Lakeshore came, actually, you guys, I tell you, I don't think anybody that's watched your games has any fingernails left. Because every game coming from behind, they defeated a previously unbeaten St. Paul team, 26-23, to reclaim the regional title after a one-year absence. They came back in that game, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bernie. They came back in that game. I had a friend of mine that was at the game, actually, who was texting me every once in a while. His son actually played for St. Paul. So it was really hard for him to text me and let me know that you guys actually ended up winning the game. But Mark, if you're watching, sorry, pal. The semifinals after that in Hamilton, and of course the week before them entering into the Rogers Center, was a 24-17 victory over St. Marguerite de Ville. Once again, come from behind win to win that game. And on November 27th at the Rogers Center in Toronto, after a 20, now I was there, and I tell you something, it was a nail biter. Like, you guys, don't do that. But 20-point deficit, 20 points the whole game. Basically, it was at the point where the parents and the fans from the other side were actually already celebrating, only to be surprised with about 30, then 20, then 10 seconds left in the game, when Lakeshore got their final touchdown to beat Burlington's M.M. Robinson and win the game 29-28. So what a game, guys. It was just a fantastic game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present out some certificates here to the team. I don't see the whole team here because you have about 40 players. I see most of you are here, or some of you are here though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, I'm going to call out each name to recognize the players. Read your first certificate so you know what it says on the certificate, and then I'm going to call the coaches up to come on up and take their certificates, as well as the captains. I have a plaque to present to you, and I know the principal's here as well, and Danny and Bernie, if you guys would be kind of say a few words, 'cause I know how proud you guys are as well. You're more than welcome. So with that, I'm going to start off by reading the first certificate to Matthew Babian. Where's Matthew? Matthew, in recognition of your outstanding contribution to the Lakeshore Catholic High School Gators senior football team and your achievement as the 2012 OFSA Football Golden Horseshoe Champions, may I extend congratulations on behalf of members of City Council and all the citizens of the City of Port Colborne. Your dedication and commitment to your school reinforces the value of teamwork evident throughout our community. Win today, walk together forever.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Well done. Good job. Now, if I pronounce any of your names wrong, just come over here and kick me, okay? Barb. Matteo Bono. Pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Or are you going to kick me? Congratulations.
Thanks.
Great job.
Thank you.
Clinton Bursey? Not here. Nick Cleveland. Tanner Demers. Good job, Tanner. Good hitting, too. Awesome job. Jacob Foran. Danny Gavin. Good job, Danny.
Thanks.
How come you guys aren't sporting the rings yet? You don't get them in February? I seen a picture of them the other day. Pretty sharp rings. Drew Gauthier.
Thank you.
Trey Gervais. Christian Gifford. Brett Golding. These must be all the guys from Fort Erie, right? Dunville. Troy Huno. Do you want to get a picture? Q Jarrett. Speedster. Good job, Q. Awesome job. Colton Jones. No? Mac Jones. No? Bernard, did you pull Colton up? He's a junior, isn't he, Colton? Pulled him up? Excellent. Enzo Laricia. There's the guy that did it. That kick, eh? Yeah. Good job, buddy. Thank you. Congratulations. Well done. Thank you. So actually, it was Enzo's kick that put him over the top. Scott Lasher. Morgan Lavoie. Is it Lavoie or Lavoie? Lavoie. Isn't he a Welland boy? What's he doing on Lakeshore? Good job, guys. Okay, guys, give me a hand here. Lucha Letizia. Luca Letizia. Kick me? Good job. Thank you. Congratulations. Cole Madros? No? Tim Newman? Adam Piscors?
Nice to see you too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Scott Powers? Robert Pyatt? No? Pat Quinn? The Iron Curtain? Matt Reuter? Zach Robertson? Israel Ruiz? Congratulations. There you are. How you doing, Brian? Good stuff. Jeremy Snyder? No? By the way, guys, there's a contest right now in the sports section that should be on. Jeremy's in there. Vote. I think it's for the athlete of the month, isn't it, guys? Yeah. Everybody get online and vote for Jeremy. Patrick Stairs. Jacob Doan. Phil Stratton. Dustin Toner. Okay, we have the coaches left, so I'm going to present these with the coaches. Why don't you all you players come on up here? That way they can get a good picture of you guys from the front here. And at the same time, I'm going to call up all the coaches. Slide over across here, guys. How many of you guys are coming back? You're all coming back?
We're only losing 2 on offense.
Beauty. That's what I like to hear. Nice over here, Bernie. Now, I do have a certificate for your coach, Bernie Tessier, as well. Bernie? Congratulations. Good job. And I also have one here for Rocky DiPietro. Is Rocky here tonight? Okay. Just so there's Pete's here tonight. We also have here one here for Terry. Is it Lane? Lenny. Terry Lenny. Pete Burnett. Can't forget about Peter. Congratulations. And Rich Vujasic. Zach Bull. Mark Teal. Mike Miller. quite a coach staff, eh? We got Matt McQuilkin. John Babian. And Derek Chavone. Before I turn the mic over to Bernie, it's once again my pleasure to present a plaque to you as well. As I said earlier, you know, guys, this means a lot to the city of Port Colborne. Again, a small city of 18,000 people, to be ranked amongst the best in Canada as well as Ontario is a very privileged honor for our community. And so you guys be proud of yourselves. And as I put it on the bottom of the certificate, something that you can remember forever is the fact that when you win today, you do walk together forever. And that goes without saying, because many athletes at our older ages will attest to that when we grew up playing, regardless of what sport it may have been, when you guys play together and you win together, it's something to be talking about for the rest of your lives. So with that, not only presenting you with certificates and, of course, accolades on behalf of the community, it's my pleasure to call upon the captains of the team, Matt Babian, Tanner Demers, I don't think Morgan's here, and Jake Ferrand, if you guys want to come on up here. I do have a certificate here presented to the Lakeshore Catholic High School Gators senior football team, the 2012 OFSA Football Golden Horseshoe Champions. Once again, congratulations on behalf of members of City Council and all the citizens of the City of Port Colborne. Your dedication, your commitment to your school reinforces the value of teamwork evident throughout our community. We win today, we walk together forever. Congratulations, guys. Well done. Thanks, guys. Yeah, okay. Bernie, floor is yours.
Okay. Not going to take up too much time here. On behalf of Lakeshore Catholic and the team, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to be here, Mayor Badaway and councillors. What you see in front of you is 14 men who had a tremendous season. It's kind of symbolic that there's only 14 of them here, because that was kind of the take on the year. We only went through the year with 26 players, and you know, in football, that's not a lot. You know, it takes 24 to scrimmage, so we had a couple guys sick or working. You know, coaches had to jump in there and play slot back or corner or something, and it's I can't run like I used to. So, you know, what these guys lacked with numbers, they certainly made up with heart and tenacity, effort and dedication. All those cliches and all those things we talk about in sports, these guys had it all. The team was really tremendous, and they did a really incredible job of coming together as a team this year, and we were very proud of them. And you know, the legend and the efforts of these guys will live on forever as a fantastic team and OFSA champions for 2012. So thank you.
Gotta get the big boss in the picture.
Stay at school, boys. You're getting up over here at this front desk. So true. Oh.
Good to see you. Very well? Good. Good. Oh, so you have a special Okay, folks, if we can resume our meeting. Where'd everybody go? I thought everybody was staying, Bob. No? Tony, what'd you let him out for? You should have closed the door, locked it. Members, we're now going to move on to the Regional Council's report. Councillor Barrick. Welcome, Dave.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It made me proud to see these Lakeshore boys here this evening. You know, the last time I believe they won was when I graduated in 1997, way back then, and I believe, Mr. Mayor, you were mayor at that time as well.
It's been too long.
I had to throw that in. I had to throw that in. Yes. So a couple of items this evening. It wasn't that long ago, folks, really. So, Region, we adopted and approved the Port Colborne official plan. It's not strange to this council. You've reviewed it as well, but it did receive final approval from the region also. The new City of Port Colborne official plan sets out the long-term vision for the community and contains the goals, objectives, and policies to implement the city's vision and guide the decisions of the public authorities and private to the year 2031. The plan has been developed to align with applicable provincial and regional policy to manage growth effectively within the urban areas and protect agricultural land and natural resources, while at the same time creating a local policy framework which will allow the community to achieve its goals of becoming a community to live, work, and play, and I believe it's done just that. We've also, at our last council meeting, adopted a revised code of conduct for members of council. It used to be a one-page code of conduct, which was quite minimal. It's been beefed up. There's several items that have been added, which I'll leave for the clerk's department as well for this council's review. But I thought it was important to share that with the public that we have updated our code of conduct. The other update I wanted to also mention is I was here a few weeks ago to talk about the region's battery collection program. It was a 2-week pilot for Port Colborne, Pelham, and Welland, and I'm happy to say that it was a success. The region was able to collect over 5,000 pounds, 5,500 pounds of batteries during that pilot. So likely regional staff will be back in the new year to recommend implementation region-wide. So I think we should be proud of that as a region because we were the very first ones to implement that. I think York was right behind us, and they've been happy to take credit for being the first, but I argue that we were the first. So a couple of other items, and I'll try to be brief this evening, but the region's communication team has come up with a great video clip, which I believe will be airing on COGECO and other media outlets, but I thought I'd share it with City Council and the public this evening as well, because often I get asked, I'm sure the mayor does as well, and perhaps you city councilors also get asked, exactly what the region does. You know, there's some, the regional police, some regional roads, but I'm not sure that the public gets a full comprehension of all the things that the region does. And so this tool that has been put forward by our communications team, I think helps to instigate some of that. So I'll play it now. And
What does Niagara Region do? We touch your life in many ways, every single day, like providing safe and reliable clean water delivered from treatment plants to 11 municipalities and ultimately to your tap. The region is also responsible for treating and safely disposing of wastewater. We manage waste collection, and through our recycling and green bin programs, almost half of Niagara's garbage is diverted from our 4 landfill sites, helping protect the environment. We're responsible for building and maintaining more than 750 kilometers of regional roads. That means everything from repaving and snow plowing to replacing bridges and installing traffic signals and signs. And we fund 2 public transit services, intermunicipal bus service, allowing residents to travel between major centers with easy connections to local bus services. Niagara Region is dedicated to helping Niagara's most vulnerable residents. We operate 8 long-term care homes, providing around-the-clock care and a place to live for roughly 950 seniors. And we deliver a range of support services to help other seniors live independently and remain in their homes. The region oversees the system of licensed childcare in Niagara, helping parents access quality, affordable childcare. We also help residents in financial hardship. We deliver the provincial Ontario Works Social Assistance Program, which helps people pay for food, shelter, and other necessities. It also includes support to help people find stable employment. And through our agency, Niagara Regional Housing, we help more than 15,000 low-income residents secure suitable and affordable housing. The region helps keep our communities safe through the 700-member Niagara Regional Police Service. And in times of emergency, Niagara EMS is a first responder, providing urgent pre-hospital care to those in need. Each year, EMS responds to more than 72,000 calls. Public health and safety is a big part of the Niagara Region's mandate. We help residents stay healthy through programs that promote good health, prevent disease and injury, and protect our communities during emergencies. We also work with local municipalities and businesses to develop the regional economy, promoting Niagara as a place to invest and grow your business. And we work with local communities to plan and manage growth and development that is sustainable, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly. Niagara has many great places for people of all ages to play outside, and through the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, we work to protect Niagara's natural wonders for generations to come.
Hi, I'm Mike Trojan, Chief Administrative Officer for Niagara Region, and I'm proud to lead a team of talented and dedicated employees who provide quality services that our residents have come to rely on each and every day. What you've just heard and seen only scratches the surface of what the region does, and in many cases has done for over 40 years. So if you'd like to find out more about the region and its services, I invite you to visit our website at niagararegion.ca.
Great, thank you for that. I think it's a great tool for the public as well. But when somebody watches that, they may think, wow, that's an awful lot. What does that cost? And I think it's timely that I lead into my comments about our 2013 budget. We are complete our 2013 budget for the region, which I believe is a record, and Mr. Mayor can clarify, that we're done at the end of 2012. We've had 5 budget review committee meetings to date, 3 public engagement sessions, over 600 respondents to online budget survey. Staff has spent an estimated 14,000 hours preparing reports, and council has spent about 28 hours in meetings reviewing budgets, et cetera, et cetera. So as many may know from last year in my presentation, the region's budget has 2 components, the operating budget and the capital budget. The operating budget pays for the daily business of Niagara Region and its boards and agencies. The capital pays for things like roads, water treatment plants, sewers, et cetera. Regional Council passed a 2013 operating budget of just over $300 million and a capital budget of about $220 million. Our gross expenditure, however, for operating was around $650 million. Overall, this will represent a 1.97% increase to the regional portion of your property tax bill. An average homeowner with a property assessed at $217,000 will see an increase of about $25 in regional taxes, totaling $1,300 for regional programs and services. Our water, wastewater, and waste management fees have also been increased as part of this budget. Water and wastewater are up 2.47%, and waste management is up 2.79%. Some of the budget highlights include $2 million in funding for the new Economic Development Office that will support business growth and job creation, $85,000 per year for Pan Am Games, $100,000 for Niagara 1812 Bicentennial, and investing $51 million in wastewater treatment, transmission, and collection infrastructure. It also includes, particular to Port Colborne, $5.9 million for Kalali Street. as with last year, I do plan on bringing some regional staff back with me to give a more fulsome presentation of the budget, in particular to Port Colborne. We do have some staffing changes there, but I do hope to have another presentation in January detailing some more budget items. So that's my presentation for now, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, David. Members of council, any questions or comments? Councillor Elliott.
I guess it's more of a comment than it is a question. I happened to attend that edge of your seat excitement last Thursday night. If you ever want something to do on a Thursday night, go see the Region at work. That was 2 in a row, and yeah, I thought the first one was so exciting I had to go to the second one, and it was worth the price of admission. I got to hand it to our regional councillors, though, with the exception of our 2 councillors, Dave and the mayor. It was an interesting meeting, wasn't it? But I like what council did in whether it be for optics or to take some of the pain that some of our residents throughout Niagara are taking, is that they froze their wages. I believe it was expressed that you had wage freeze for the last 2 years, and they're going forward. They were scheduled to get a 2% increase into 13, if I'm not mistaken, and they chose to freeze it. And it was a recorded vote, which seemed to be the flavor of the night, in as much as what was going on around the council chambers. So I guess my question is to Peter. What's our increase year over year for city council, and have we ever had a wage freeze? And are we
Mr. Sinez? Between 1994 and 2000, I believe.
Mr. Mayor, it was a number of years ago that it was, but then council put together a committee, and through bylaw of council a number of years ago was that annual increases would be on the consumer price index, and basically that's what's been allotted to council over the years, and this year we're looking at about 1.25%. I believe last year was about around 2%. So it's based on the CPI, and it's based on the bylaw that was passed by council through your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Sinez. We are going to be into budget deliberations within the next, well, just after Christmas. And if it's, as I said at the region, if it's something that council wants to consider, and quite frankly, when you look at the public sector right now, across the province of Ontario, as well as regional council, as was highlighted by Councillor Barrick and Elliott, it would be something that it would be appropriate to consider during the budget deliberations. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. That's exactly what I was going to suggest. Maybe we do take a look at that through budget. It's not much, but I mean, if we can put ourselves in the place of people in our community, job losses, people are taking pay cuts everywhere. It's not much, but it is the optics of it. So, and just one other quick thing, Dave. Could you go over again what the investment from the region is into the city? Through the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the councillor. Thanks for the question. As it relates to the capital budget in particular, I believe offhand is $5.9 million set aside for Kalali Street reconstruction, $350,000 for a rail spur, and there may be another item.
Northland Point.
Northland Point as well. And of course, our operating budget, we have our other services, long-term care home, the police detachment, public health, et cetera. So I do want to be clear, you did mention recorded votes. Yes, the mayor and I both voted in favor of the wage freeze. But also I did not vote in favor of the capital budget for a variety of reasons, one being the $73 million in debt that it puts the region, as well as the capital list for 2013 and the $1.6 billion 10-year capital plan I didn't necessarily agree with. With that said, Port Colborne's share of the capital budget was just under 5% of the global budget. However, I did support the operating budget as well.
Thank you, Councillor Barrick. Any further questions or comments? I think the irony for those members of council that were here back in 2000 when Northland Point was actually built, and we all had an opinion on the cladding of the building, they're replacing it now. So that's the Northland Point expenditure. It lasted, well, just about 10 years, so. Yeah. So, that was good. It was good. Any further questions or comments? With none, David, thank you. Great job. Members, we're now going to go to Councilor's items, new business. Councilor's items, new business. Councilor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just this past weekend, we were able to attend the CAO's residence for some Christmas cheer, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, because during that evening, we missed somebody that's there year after year at our annual event, and that's Mr. Ron Hansen. And Ron, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I guess, was out celebrating a milestone of his life, and which was his birthday, where he turned 65 years old. So thank you, Ron. Why you're still here, I don't know, because of that. Well, I'm sure, but that's okay. I didn't give the birth date out, but it's close to what this weekend was. So, but Ron, I mean, for a guy that maybe turned 65, you don't look a day over 60. But congratulations, and thank you, because we were talking about it that evening, and I think it's 40-year service he has here at City Hall. Ron, thank you very much. You've done a valor job, and 40 more to go. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor Steele. Any further new business or Councilor's items? Councilor Bodner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Hansen. I should speak up a little bit, Aaron. I think we all received, yeah, he is younger than I am, that's true. I think we all received an email from, about a product called Eco-Traction, and it's a new product to, I guess, work along with salt and in some instances maybe take the place of salt. Ground up volcanic ash, or for lack of a better word. Anyways, my question is, will we look at that, Ron, and see if there's any application we can use it at? I know it's promoted also or sponsored by Riversides, which is something we're interested in with the lake, and because we're by the canal, I was just thinking if staff could look at that and see whether there's any way we can use that in place of any kind of salt in any application. So just leave it with you.
Mr. Hansen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that email was sent out from the manufacturer of this product. Just about everybody in the city, I think, received it, but we haven't had an opportunity yet to really do an evaluation of it. I think there may be some uses in the city for it, but leave it with us, and we'll certainly take a look, and perhaps some application on sidewalks, parking lots, that sort of thing would be applicable. So we'll certainly have a look.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Thank you, Councillor. Further new business? Councillor Demeray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the, I guess the Transit Committee would be the people to speak to here, but through whoever's dealing with transit, I have a request for the bus shelter on just adjacent to the Clarence Street Bridge. There was a shelter there at one time, and it's well, there's still the pad for it, and that's just about it. Some of the seniors have requested that we do something about that, because they do get stuck there quite often, and they need to have that looked after, to have some shelter. If they're on the west side, they can always step into a store. On the east side, it's not quite that simple. So there's that, and also on the matter of transit, the people in Ward 4 would really like to be considered in the whole transit plan, especially the seniors. They're having a difficult time getting to and from appointments and that sort of thing. So if there can be some consideration, something worked on, they would appreciate hearing it.
Thank you, Councillor Demeray. Mr. Sinez, if we can have something brought to budget in terms of what we used to have on the east side of the Clarence Street Bridge, as well as if we can talk to the folks from Welland Transit and see what they can come up with a number for the Ward 4 area. Members of council, would that be fair to ask for? I don't need a motion. I think just consensus would do. That's fine. That's fine. Peter, any comments?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I am told that the shelters that were put by the Clarence Street Bridge were actually put up by the Seaway for people, so it wasn't part of, because we didn't have a transit system back then. And but it is something that the Transit Committee has been reviewing and determining where, if any, places that we could put up some shelters. So that is on the agenda that we've been discussing over the last year as to where we may be putting some shelters in place based on the system itself and where the most volume is and where people could be. As you know, we now have the front foyer is available, and we leave that open even to about 7 o'clock at night for anybody that is looking for the transit system out front of City Hall, that they have a place that they can go. We're going to be looking at putting in some seating in there at some point in time, so people can actually sit there. So we have that at our central location, which is City Hall, or we will have that. As far as the rural, I think it was discussed at some point in time. It's going to be a matter of cost and budget, because we do have other areas that are looking for either further night service, Saturday service, and basically it's going to be a budget item, and it'll be a cost, and we do have what it costs per day. So it's something the Transit Committee meets again in January, so it's something we can bring forward.
Thank you, Peter. That's fine. Okay, thank you, Councillor. Further new business, Councillor's items. One thing I just wanted to pass on to the public, if you guys want to go, take a second, get a pen and paper. I'll give you a second. We do have the 2012 Christmas skating schedule that I wanted to pass on to the folks that are watching on COGECO, as well as members of council. I'm sure you're all going to strap up the skates during the holidays. On Thursday, December 27th, Tim Hortons will be sponsoring a skate between 2 and 3:20. And I'm assuming this is, it's obviously at the West Side Arena. It's not at the new rink yet. So Thursday, December 27th, 2012, Tim Hortons skate over at the West Side Arena, 2 o'clock till 3:20. Friday, the following day, the 28th, once again sponsored by Tim Hortons, and running from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4:20 p.m. Of course, as is our tradition on New Year's Eve, starting at 2 o'clock, we are going to be having the Agreed-On Kids Carnival, which includes a free skate, and that'll be taking place between 2 and 5, and of course after that is the annual fireworks display. On Thursday, January 6th, 2012, once again Tim Hortons will be sponsoring skate, once again at the West Side Arena between 1 and 3, and finally on Friday, January 7th, 2013, Tim Hortons will also be sponsoring a skate once again, beginning at 1 p.m. and ending at 3 p.m. So for all you folks that want to come out and skate and take advantage of the free skates sponsored by both Tim Hortons and Agreed-On, which is formerly known as Casco, by all means come on out and enjoy the afternoon over at the West Side Arena. So with that, and no further new business, we'll now move on to the adoption of the minutes. I do have staff. Do you guys have any updates before I move on? Everybody's fine? You good? Okay. I'm looking for a mover and seconder for the minutes of the 26th meeting regular of Committee of the Whole, dated November 26th, 2012. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Doucette, Councillor Desmarais. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. We'll now move on to consideration of the items that require separate discussion, as lifted by members of council. We'll start off with item 1. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. That the Council of the City of Port Colborne accept this information report, and B, that Council endorse the detailed design of the Downtown Central Business District Community Improvement Plan project area as presented by ACOM.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder to that, please? Councillor Steele. Questions or comments? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I lift this for the presenter and for the delegation. I see Mr. Shields from ACOM here, so if he wants to have the podium.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Mr. Shields. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of committee. Tonight, I'm just going to be making a brief presentation for our work that we've completed on the downtown Central Business District area. Go through the detailed design that we have prepared for the streetscaping plan. The plan that we've put together, it's based on our own experience with completing similar projects in other communities in Ontario, as well as the endorsed community improvement plan document that has been prepared by the city, and some extensive collaboration with both city staff as well as the local BIA in getting to the point in this project that we're at right now in completing this project. On the slide, it's in the blue outline. It just shows the extent of the project study area, and the streets are basically, the study area is basically bounded by West Street to the east, and and to the west it's Fielden Avenue. To the north, the project extends to Elgin Street and King Street, and to the south, the project extends to Kent Street and includes a portion of Victoria Avenue, Adelaide, and a portion of new sidewalk and street lighting along West Street down to Sugarloaf. So that's the extent of the project, of the study area, and that's what we've prepared the design on to incorporate. The project itself incorporates new roads, curbs and sidewalks, including street parking. It includes new storm and sanitary sewers, as well as water main improvements. It includes boulevard treatments, street trees, decorative street lighting, and street furniture. The next slide is on King Street and West Street. I've just prepared a few slides which show the overall concepts of our design, just broken up by different areas within the study area that I just described. This area here is for King Street and West Street, and the orange boulevard areas, these are the streets, and we're showing an orange boulevard area, which is basically the decorative boulevard treatments. The green areas, sort of at the north part of King Street, those are the green in those boulevards. We've shown it as green, and that's where we've proposed a sodded type boulevard treatment for those areas. So for the most part in this area, it's the decorative boulevards. We're showing street trees, decorative crosswalks. So this is just a general overall view. I've got a few more slides later on which will scroll down into and provide more details for some of the streetscaping design. As I mentioned, there are decorative crosswalks that are involved in here, and the entire scheme includes decorative lighting, street furniture, and street trees along the streets. This slide shows King Street and Clarence Street. Again, this is the orange areas are showing the decorative boulevard areas, which is basically the impressed concrete boulevards, street trees. So the decorative boulevards, for example, are shown on King Street here, mainly between Charlotte and Clarence Street. And as we move north and south of that area, we're showing more of the sodded boulevards. And just to note that the decision for decorative boulevards versus sodded boulevards, basically we're proposing to have the decorative boulevards in and around where the business areas are located in the downtown area. And as we get into more of the secondary areas where there's more residential, we're proposing the sodded boulevards. But throughout the whole area, there's still the street trees that are a component of the plan, as well as the decorative street lighting. Throughout the area as well, we've tried to maximize the on-street parking. The design has required a relocation of parking, but we've tried to maximize the amount of parking that we can maintain within the downtown area. Catherine Street is another section. Most of this is the decorative type boulevard treatment with street trees. And this is on Catherine Street between Clarence and Charlotte Street. On Clarence Street, this is the next slide, and as I mentioned, we've got some other slides that we'll scroll down to give a little bit more detail on the streetscaping design. And on Clarence Street here, this shows again the decorative boulevards, mainly from West Street over to Fielden, and with the street trees and street lighting as well. So this is a slide which shows a little bit more of the detail of the streetscaping design. This is a portion of West Street at Clarence. The top left-hand corner of the slide, it shows a little bit more of the gateway feature of that's proposed for this area. And again, we've got some blow-ups on that as which shows a little bit more of the detail in a couple more slides. But it does show the locations for some of these gateway features at West Street, and this is at Clarence. You'll notice that we've got the decorative boulevards, as well as maintaining and trying to maximize as much parking as we can throughout the street. It does show the decorative crosswalks across West Street, and it's a curvilinear type crosswalk that we're proposing, which keeps in with the theme of the waterway area and West Street adjacent to the canal. And we also are maintaining the sundial feature at the corner of Clarence and West Street, and the flagpoles that exist there as well. So we propose to retain those, and they will be enhanced with the decorative concrete, the banding, as well as seat benches and seating areas with landscape areas. So these are just I've got a couple of slides just for again, just to show more of the details on the streetscape design, and also how the streetscaping works into just the road reconstruction, because the road reconstruction is also a major component of this project. This is Charlotte Street, and it shows some of the design at the intersections. At the intersections, we're proposing to put in new curbing, etc., at the intersections, which will provide a better delineation for the operation of the intersection. It also provides for expanded boulevard areas at the intersections, which also provides for streetscaping features to be included in there. These areas will be finished with the decorative concrete. There will be trees installed in these areas as well. But with the design of the curbs, we're trying to improve the sight lines, for example, at the intersections, which will improve the safety and the operation of these intersections. It will keep the parking that we've proposed throughout the project. They are blended in with these intersection designs, and part of this is to control the parking areas along the street so that they don't encroach into the sight lines on the intersections, which is another way that we are trying to improve the intersection design and the operations of the intersections, and make them operate in a safer mode for both vehicles as well as the pedestrians. So the curb lines that we've established at the intersections will not only provide some opportunities for streetscaping and improve the traffic operations of the intersections, but the curb lines do, as they're constructed further along the roadway, they do kick back into the boulevard, which is shown on this plan. By kicking back into the boulevard, that will then provide areas for the on-street parking. So by completing the design as we're showing here, this helps to improve the streetscaping and the operations of the intersections, and at the same time maximize the parking along the streets. At Clarence Street, this is just another example, and again, it's showing the decorative boulevards. It gives examples of the street parking that we're proposing. The street trees are maximized as much as we can. Those are the circular symbols with the lines, and we're also showing on this slide the decorative boulevards, as well as some of the sodding, which is at on Felden Avenue for some of the boulevard areas. So the gateway feature that I talked about a few minutes ago, just at the Clarence West Street intersection, this is a larger scale drawing of that, and this shows more of the details on the decorative boulevards as well as the banding that's proposed along the curbs. It shows the light standard locations as well as the tree locations. It's proposing benches in these feature areas, which will improve the pedestrian environment of the downtown and make it more pedestrian friendly. And bike racks as well will be installed throughout the area to help with assist the bikers and throughout the area in the downtown area. So that's just an example of some of these gateway features, and it also shows, for example, proposed street names impressed into the municipal sidewalks. Where west is imprinted into the sidewalk, we're proposing to have these types of features as well in the plan. And this will be similar to what is on Main Street, and that is shown in one of the photographs in the bottom right-hand corner to promote and install these impressed names into the sidewalk. And we also will have the decorative crosswalks at West Street and throughout the area, particularly in the primary areas. And that's shown in the other photograph in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide. The other feature of the downtown, of course, is it's a highly urban area, and planting trees in a highly urban area is difficult and challenging at the best. So we're proposing a deciduous type canopy of trees throughout the downtown area. These will be installed with tree pits and designed to promote the health of the trees as well as their longevity. This is just a slide showing the proposed street lights for the downtown area. It is similar to the lights that are installed on Main Street as well, and we're incorporating that into our plan in order to provide continuity of design between the Main Street and the downtown area, as well as minimize ongoing maintenance costs for the city as well. Just some information on this slide regarding streetscaping features and furniture. This is just some samples of the decorative benches that are proposed, as well as the waste disposal racks. Top left-hand corner just shows the pinwheel symbol that's out in front of City Hall, and in our plan as well, we propose to maintain that symbology and include that in some of the decorative boulevards in front of City Hall, just to promote that feature. And the bottom right-hand corner is just an example of how the trees will be installed. They're going to be installed at grade in the tree pits. And they'll be located to make sure that they don't compromise the frontage and interfere with the signage on the businesses within the downtown area. This is a streetscaping visualization. This is, again, the same gateway feature that we've talked about a couple of times, or we've looked at a few times in plan view. This is a perspective, and it just gives everybody an idea of how this feature will actually be in 3D. It shows the relationship between the road, the pedestrian, and the boulevard sidewalk areas, as well as the parking. So it shows the light standards, where the trees are. The trees will be placed back far enough from the intersection so it doesn't conflict with the sight lines. It shows the bollards placed along the curb and the banding, just to separate the pedestrian environment from the roadway. And in the profile section just below the picture, it does show additional seating and benches that would be proposed and installed at these areas, again, to promote the pedestrian-friendly environment of the downtown. Another large component of this project is municipal infrastructure. So we've also looked at not only the streetscaping design throughout the area, but we've also looked at the municipal infrastructure within the area. On this plan, it shows some of the water main and sewer replacement. The orange lines, or sorry, the green lines are the storm sewer replacement. Some of the red, there's a few red lines in which represent sanitary sewer replacement, and the blue, of course, is water main replacement. So we can see from this plan that there's a fair amount of, and a significant amount of infrastructure that's proposed along Clarence Street, Charlotte Street at the west end, and some water main replacement on the adjacent streets on West Street, Adelaide and Kent, down on Sugarloaf as well. So the intent is that as the streetscaping moves forward with construction, that this proposed replacement of sewers and water mains will also be part of that, so that everything can be done at the same time, or possibly, depending on phasing, install complete the infrastructure replacement in advance of the streetscaping or concurrently. Part of our project as well is coming up with a phasing plan. Purpose of this phasing plan is to help the city and provide guidance to city staff to implement this plan. We've color-coded this plan. We've got about 15 stages that we're proposing, and each stage includes streetscaping as well as the infrastructure replacement. Some of the first stages that we're recommending is along Charlotte Street, West Street, and King Street are some of the first phases that we're recommending for consideration by the city for implementation. So altogether, there's about 15 different stages for the streetscaping and the infrastructure replacement. We've done cost estimates for each of the stages as well, just to, again, help the city in establishing an implementation plan for all of the different phases and for the entire plan over the next several years. So basically, the implementation is obviously the last phase. We've completed the design component, and we've come up with a phasing plan. So the implementation of this plan, as I mentioned, would be based on the phasing plan that we've provided. Each phase then has a cost estimate associated with it. The city can look at each of the phases, determine, and based on the cost estimates, determine what budget is required to implement each of the phases. And based on the budget availability, decisions can be made by the city to move forward and implement each of the stages of this plan. And then each phase then would, of course, be covered with a construction contract to implement the work and to complete the work. So that completes my presentation, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Well done. Members of council, any questions or comments? Councillor Butters, Demray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's quite a presentation. I do have one question. Could you explain to me the purposes of the bollards, those black things?
Mr. Shields?
Yeah. They're located along basically to separate the pedestrian environment from the roads. They also do replicate to a certain degree the waterway theme of Port Colborne and the canal, etc. But they're there they have an aesthetic purpose mainly, but they're there between to help delineate between the pedestrian environment and the roadways.
Councillor?
The reason I bring it up is because when they were put in down on Main Street, and one complaint that I heard from more than a few people was that it kind of it made it look very busy. There was like either too many of them, or I don't know. Some of the people I talked to, they didn't really like the looks of them, and they just thought it kind of too much stuff along the sidewalk, because there would be like the planters and the bollards and this and that and whatever. So I can see some purpose to them, but I wouldn't want to see it as busy looking as maybe Main Street is. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Demray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, I do have a couple of questions. One, I didn't see any bike lanes. Are you going to have bike lanes?
Mr. Shields?
Through the mayor to yourself, no, there's no bike lanes through this whole area.
Oh, but we're going to put in bike racks?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd question that one. Also, it looks like there's a bottlenecking. As I'm in particular, I'm thinking of King Street, where we come to the intersection of Clarence and when we come to the intersection with Charlotte. There's transport trucks that go up and down King Street. We have transport, you have cars, you have people on bicycles, you have pedestrians, and you have a lot of busyness going on. I think that's a bit of a recipe for disaster in those intersections. I don't know exactly what you do to take care of that, but I think there should be some attention given to that. Bike lane maybe be one of them. So that's one concern. The other thing is when you see the planters, I've seen a few, well, circles showing that there may be planters. I'd just like to comment that I'd love to see those be built in with thought to how they fit. When I take a look at what happened on Main Street, those planters are quite large and they just look out of place. I'd like to see something that actually fits so that it's aesthetically pleasing and it has a flow. But that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. We don't have planter boxes, do we?
Mr. Shields.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, no, we don't. We have seating areas with landscaping in behind it, just to enhance it. The planter boxes you're thinking about on Main Street, we don't have those in this plan.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? Councillor Nash. I'm sorry, Councillor Elliott, you had more? Go ahead.
One quick question. In regards to the bike lanes, with on-street parking and the width of the streets, is it feasible or is there enough room to put dedicated bike lanes in and have room for the traveled section for cars? Can you do both, or is it narrow down the section that cars have to drive in too small, especially when you've got trucks? I don't know how you fit parking, bike lanes, and truck traffic in.
Mr. Shields.
To the councillor, through yourself, Mayor. No, there isn't enough room. Most of the streets are pretty well local roadways, and with enough room for traveled two-way traffic on these roads with the on-street parking. Of course, you've got some boulevard area and municipal sidewalks. There wouldn't be room for bike lanes through the downtown.
Okay. Councillor Danch.
Just a couple things. The white banner that was used on Main Street, different areas, it's been a year, maybe two now. That stuff doesn't stand up. Things called snow plows and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe let's not make the same mistake twice. With the poles, if you wanted to duplicate what we have on Main Street, and maybe Ron could help me out with this one, but I don't believe they have photo cells in them. And I know with the current Christmas displays and stuff that we have, our snowflakes hanging, those things are on 24/7. They tell me that they're LED and they don't cost a lot of money, but anything costs. So maybe looking into a photo cell into those lights might be a consideration. I don't know, I guess that's just a couple feelings I have from looking at what you said today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Danch. Mr. Hanson, any comment on the lights?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was just questioning the photo cells. In fact, all the poles have photo cells on them, so the street lights themselves have photo eyes on them to turn off and on during the nighttime periods. The decorations themselves do not. The receptacles are live, so when they plug those into the receptacles, those are live all the time. You have to put a photo eye onto the individual Christmas decorations. They should have those, but they don't have them, so they're on all the time because that receptacle is live.
Thank you. Councillor?
I appreciate what Ron's saying, and I understand. I spoke with the manufacturer of those things, and they were saying that that would be another connection, and they prefer not to have the additional connections on these things, and wondering why maybe the receptacles, couldn't be incorporated so that when that photo cell goes on with the light, that the receptacles would become live at the same time, saving that little bit of hydro that we are using. I don't know.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments of the presenter? Mr. Shields, thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, we do have one request to speak on this report. Ms. Mickey Main, with respect to comments and concerns regarding the downtown community improvement plan design. Mrs. Main, welcome.
Thank you. But I'd like to pass them down because I think it's important to see some of the history so that you know where you're going. And also, I'm really glad to have these back here because I think you don't really get a good view of what's being proposed unless you look at some of these big diagrams. And so I hope council will do that. I may, during my presentation, refer to some of them. So the first thing I'm going to ask you right off the bat is not to accept this plan. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. And some of them fly in the face of what you do. So I'd like you to keep an open mind because we're a little bit opposite. A lot of times you have people and councillors come forward and ask you to do things for safety measures. And council has to talk to staff and weigh that and make some decisions. And many times the decisions aren't in favor of that stoplight or stop sign or whatever because the big picture is that you may prevent some problem, but you may create others. And that's pretty well what I'm trying to talk to you about when I talk about the curb extensions in this plan. And I think you referred to them as decorative boulevards, was that it? Decorative boulevards. Every single corner, pretty well, I don't think there are any corners that are missing it other than the ones on West Street, have curb extensions. Sometimes they're called bump outs, whatever, and they add to the sidewalk space at the expense of the street space. And I did a lot of reading about this and also a lot of looking at this, and I'm glad that photo is up there on the screen right now because I think that'll help me a little bit. So curb extensions are designed to calm traffic. That is one of their primary designs in the urban design field. But there are other traffic calming features that are already existing in downtown Port Colborne. And these are not mine. I read this on, some of the 101 design, downtown designs. Roads that are narrow and crooked, intersections that do not line up, on-street parallel and angled parking, limited building setbacks, shorter distances between intersections, and trees planted along the curbs and boulevards. Who knew? All these things contribute to calming traffic, slowing it down, that sort of thing. And all of those things exist currently in downtown Port Colborne. We already have in Port Colborne another really big feature that calms traffic. It's the bridge. And when the bridge goes up, traffic really gets calm, it stops. So using curb extensions at every intersection downtown for the purpose of calming traffic is excessive. And if you will look at these plans, you will notice that curb extensions, or decorative boulevards as they're called, are on every single street corner. And some of those streets are really narrow little streets. If you look at Kent Street, you drive up that little section of Kent Street between West and King, it's a narrow little street, and there's a really big curb extension there. I think it's excessive. Curb extensions narrow the roadway and make it more difficult for vehicles and bicycles to maneuver. Customers have choices. If it's more difficult, real or perceived, and that's important, real or perceived, for them to navigate the downtown streets, they can drive elsewhere. They have choices, and they will. Curb extensions are also designed to increase safety by reducing the crossing distance for pedestrians. Okay, now this is a big thing for curb extensions, and I know that every time I read about curb extension is a really big feature, and I know it was mentioned by some of the staff here. But I'd like you to look at the picture on the screen right now, and if you look, you'll see that along this is West Street Clarence, and along West Street, you see how the sidewalk goes out into the street along the curb extension? And I don't know how to change these, but if you go to, on your screen, it would be page 16. But if you look at any of these boards right here, okay, here's King and Charlotte, Okay, parking and clearance. If you look at some of these boards, you will see that that isn't the way it is. The way it is actually is that the edges of the curb are cut in, and they're for a purpose, because you need a lot of room for turning vehicles, especially large turning vehicles. And so what's happening is, in this whole plan, I don't think there are very many curbs at all that actually shorten the distance for pedestrians to cross the corner from what there is now to what they're proposing. It just doesn't deliver. In nearly every case, the crossing distance of corners is exactly the same as it is currently, and in some cases, it's slightly more. Now, I also have heard it talking about no parking at the corners, and one of the reasons for curb extensions or decorative boulevards here is to prevent people from parking at the corner. It's illegal, right? And you have distances from the corner that you cannot park, and some people illegally park there. And if you put a curb extension in, you're going to prevent that, and that's another safety measure. So what we're doing here, and when you're looking at that, you've got, and I believe we said 15 meters in most of the corners downtown, because that was, as you said, Jim, was that a municipal bylaw? Okay, it's a municipal bylaw according to Jim. Well, first of all, 15 meters, you know how long that is? It's 49.5 feet from the corner where you're not supposed to park according to municipal bylaw. That means that you can't park there, but it doesn't mean that you can't drive there. It doesn't mean you can't stop there. It doesn't mean you can't stand there with your vehicle. One of the important things that we have there is the idea that you can stop and drop people off, you can stop and drop parcels off, that type of thing. If these curb extensions are put in, you eliminate completely that possibility and that maneuverability, that ability to move around downtown, to receive your shipments, you know, that type of thing. And the next thing I want to talk, and this is with all due respect, Jim, I called the bylaw enforcement office and asked about the bylaw. And it's bylaw 89-2000 as amended. And it deals with stopping and it deals with parking. And indeed, there is, it's not a set distance. It's not 15 meters. There's a couple of, it's a sliding scale. But first of all, it deals with intersections with traffic lights, and it deals with intersections without traffic lights. It deals with intersections that have posted signs and intersections that do not have posted signs. And I'll just give you a little précis of it. Parking with a sign, okay, you have, the city has a sliding scale, okay? This is parking at an intersection that doesn't have a traffic light. You know what I mean by traffic light, you know, okay. So parking with a, if there's a sign there that says no parking from here to corner, the city has the discretion of making that distance, no parking from the corner, of up to 16 meters, up to 16. But it could be 8 meters, it could be 5 meters, it could be 10 meters, you know, so on and so forth. So there's a choice. And that apparently, according to what I'm told, is up to engineering department. And I understand that there's a lot of factors involved with that. You're talking about building setbacks, width of road, whether there's parking, how many turning lanes, and that type of thing, when you decide how far from the corner you can park. If it's controlled by a traffic signal, a traffic light, the number is within 45 meters. So in other words, again, it could be 5 meters, 10 meters, 15 meters, and so on. But the city has, or city engineering department has the right to dictate what that is. So the bylaw is, for enforcement purposes, is affected by the sign, no parking from here to corner. But we can still stop there, and we can still stand there with our vehicles. So the idea that the decorative boulevards are safety issues, and I know in the report the staff talked about, there were many, I think it was called near misses. If you read the report, there are many near misses. And so we needed these. We needed to prevent people from parking near the corner because of the number of near misses that we've had. And I would like to humbly make a suggestion that if there are problems, that we should get the numbers. We should get some type of statistics about this. And if the near misses are to do with parking near the corner, then deal with that. But perhaps near misses are not dealing with parking near the corner. Perhaps some of them are, perhaps more of them are, less of them are. There was a parking report in the CIP, parking study, I should see it, in the earlier CIP, whatever. And I think there were, oh yes, there are 8 traffic collisions at the corner of West and Clarence in a 5-year period from 2005 to 2010. How many of them are due to parking close to the corner, I can't say. 40% of them were rear ends, and another 40% were the other kind that, you know, at 90 degrees, and, you know, 75% of them were traveling north or something like that. I'm not sure if that's a good case for putting curb extensions at corners to prevent traffic accidents, but I just really think that before we put curb extensions at every single corner downtown, we need to do a little bit more research on that safety feature. Right now, as I'm looking at it, calming traffic and curb extensions for safety for pedestrians crossing and parking, this is a miss. It doesn't work. So I'm not sure whether or not that's the best case for curb extensions. Now, if the curb extensions are designed for the sole purpose of adding street amenities, I think we need to search out other public and private spaces downtown to better address this need, using creativity and private-public partnerships. Because, in my opinion, there are better, safer, and shadier options for benches and other pedestrian amenities. And I can only talk about some personal experiences, and I can tell you that I've seen a lot of people gathering by the Compass at the corner of West and Clarence, and they're, you know, having fun and moving around. Some of them are using bicycles and so on. But I'll tell you, my heart goes in my throat when you want to drive around that corner and someone comes near the edge of it. And even if there is a fence there, it's not easy. Gathering people at the corners, outside the sidewalk, even if there are bollards, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I think we could probably provide spaces inside. And the other side, I'd like to say that here, here, and here. Right across the road is a promenade. That promenade has been designed for public space, and it's right across the road. We have lots of it. Yes, yes, absolutely, we need trees, we need benches, we need flower, but I don't think we need the curb extensions. I just want to go over some of the disadvantages of the proposed curb extensions in downtown Port Colborne. They may make cyclists feel forced into the path of motor vehicles. They narrow the roadway, perceived or real, they narrow it, and it makes people uncomfortable. They may require the removal of some on-street parking spaces. Certainly, in my opinion, 15 meters is a long stretch of property, is a long stretch of real estate to carve out of the road and carve out of the parking. We might even have more parking if we didn't use so much in curb extensions. It may require large vehicles to cross into the adjacent travel lanes in order to negotiate a turn. In my opinion, if you're taking the ability for cars to park at the curb extension, and then you then park, and I'm going to give you a little rundown, 1 bench, 1 light standard, 1 tree, 2 boulders. We didn't mention the boulders, by the way. I'm going to get into them later. 1 planter and 1 bike rack on a curb extension. So you don't have the cars there, which is reduced visibility, but you have all these other things. Plus, maybe people sitting on the benches. It was even suggested that these curb extensions be used for sidewalk sales. I'm not sure whether or not that's so good for visibility.
Nikki?
Yes?
Just let you know you got 2 minutes.
Okay, Vance, I might have to come back in January, but I'll finish this part, okay?
That's fine. Thank you, Nikki.
Okay. Traffic slowdown. It will become more difficult for vehicles to maneuver. It will cause a bottleneck, particularly at the Clarence Street approach to the bridge. Parking and unloading of large delivery vehicles will be inhibited. Now I'm going to come to another big aspect. Snow plowing in the parking lanes will be far more challenging. And I know that I've been told that, oh, that can happen. But you can't tell me that it's going to be just as easy to go in and out as it is to go straight across. It permanently prevents any vehicle from using the corner for any reason. No parking zones do not prohibit, and that's I'm repeating, but no parking zones do not prohibit stopping and standing. My building is on the corner of West and Clarence. We have no rear entrances. The only way we can get in that building is through either West or Clarence. In addition, we have a no parking zone that covers more than half of the Clarence Street side. Our building is 80 foot long on Clarence Street. More than half of that building is going to be covered by a curb extension. That means that if we have to move anything big or heavy, if we have to do any maintenance, if we have to start moving in anything like that, if we want to do some construction in there, any of those things are seriously compromised. And sure, it's probably not so safe to park near the corner, but it's a heck of a lot more unsafe to stop the vehicle in the middle of the roadway in order to affect some of this movement and in and out of the building. And that's what you would be asking us to do. The last one I wanted to talk about, and I think that this is probably a pretty big issue for some people. Sidewalk and curb snow removal will be extremely difficult, and I think it's a major issue. Bollards, benches, planters, trees, all of that on the curb extension. I know what it's like to shovel 80 feet of sidewalk on Clarence Street and another 30 floor on West. If I had a curb extension there too, well, glory be, I could probably put all my snow there, but you guys would have to take it away. And you're going to have those bollards in the way and everything else. It's not going to be easy. So there's my curb extension part. I have two more parts of this presentation, and they won't take very long, so I'm going to ask your permission, Mr. Badaway.
Thank you, Mrs. Main. Members of council, your pleasure to extend the time. Can I mover and seconder, please? Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Bodnar. Any questions or comments to that? With none, all those in favor? Thank you, members. 5 minutes.
That's a nice Christmas present. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I just want to talk a little bit about downtown versus Main Street. The proposed design has all the amenities for downtown exactly the same as Main Street, right down to sidewalk treatment, street lights, benches, trash receptacles, flag standards, bollards, even right down to sidewalk boulders. Page 16 and 17 even show photos of Main Street to demonstrate the look for downtown. And words have been used such as standardized and uniform, as an explanation. I just don't remember the part in the input phase that stated that the design features were already predetermined, that everything that you're going to do downtown has to be exactly the same as Main Street. And I really question that, because I think that there, and actually when I read over some of the previous CIP info, that wasn't in there. It didn't say, oh, by the way, you don't get a choice in any of these things because it has to be the same as Main Street. Where are the unique features for downtown? Now, I wanted to talk about sidewalk boulders in that photo. There's also a couple of other things there. We already have large feature rocks in the landscaping on the promenade, and I don't think we need any on the sidewalk. Placing rocks on the sidewalk where they are surrounded by cement and asphalt with no softening greenery or shade is far too austere, particularly in the winter. Backless benches are a kinder and less bulky alternative. So I don't know where the boulders came from, but I question that. And I also agree, I really question the bollards as well. We already have real bollards along the canal, and the decorative ones appear contrived. And again, they'll make the snow removal difficult. It sort of pens that area in. I understand that it's sort of like, oh, you need the curb extensions, but then again, you need all these other things in order to prevent people from going out on the streets. So I'm kind of wondering about the placement of that. There's also a concrete seat wall on this plan. It's on page 19. Well, actually, you can see it on this one. I think it's right around the light there, the light standard. There's some kind of concrete seat wall. I don't know what that's for, but I think that's an issue. There's a bump out at the center block on West Street between Charlotte and Kent, and I thought the bump outs were supposed to be removed from this plan, so please remove that. I'd like to ask you to add more trees and green space along the Food Basics parking lot on Clarence Street. There's only four trees in that entire stretch, and that is the one stretch that really needs special attention as far as trees go. We've needed that for a long time. I'm glad to see some trees there, but we need more. And I wanted to ask about the benches. The seat slats on the benches are black metal, and I'm wondering whether or not that gets kind of hot for the bum in the summer. Okay, and the third part of my presentation is what is missing. And this goes back a long ways. First of all, what's missing in this proposal? Signs. The BIA requested signage from Council in 2008, and it was deferred until the completion of the CIP. We asked for welcome to downtown Port Colborne signs. And I know that there's a banner somewhere. I don't know, I only saw one, but maybe there's other ones. Banners come down in the winter. They're only there for 6 months. I think we can do better. I think we can have some permanent welcome to downtown. I even went through some suggested places, Clarence Street Bridge, Elm Street and Clarence intersection. That's probably, we could call that the Food Basics corner. The King Street, the library/museum complex, or the old train station. Locator signs. Now, locator signs are the ones that you have that tell you, you are here, but here's where everything else is. And this is a really easy one because there's a whole bunch of signs on the promenade. There's some at the museum, and they're all the same. If you inserted some locator signs in there, it'd be great. If you had some at the market, and if you had some at the museum, the museum complex, it would be really, really good. And this isn't a difficult thing. It's not hard. It can't be overly costly compared to everything else that's going on here, but it's really needed. And also the other thing that was asked for was custom street signs to identify the downtown district. And you know what that is. You know Clarence Street, West Street, and they're a different design or a different color that let you know that you're entering the downtown district. And this is not new. It's not unheard of. A lot of districts and a lot of communities do this. And again, it was something that we asked for in 2008, and it was deferred. Okay, what time is it, people? Anybody know? 6 o'clock. Go down to the corner of Clarence and King. It's 6 o'clock, and it's been 6 o'clock for the last 3 years. I know I wrote a letter not too long ago about the clock. I guess it was almost a year ago, actually. A decision on the clock repair or replacement was deferred until the completion of the CIP. That's not in here. In fact, that clock I don't think is on that picture over there. No off-street parking has been addressed. There's no new parking. And the next thing is something that's really near and dear to my heart, and so I really want you to think about this. The completion of West Park Princess Street behind the old train station. The sidewalk on West Street, north of Clarence Street, stops abruptly at the Harborfront Inn. I hope most of you know what I'm talking about there, all right? The old Star Bar. On the opposite side of the road, where the promenade is, it stops pretty well across the road from there. So everything north of there is like a no man's land. There's no definition between the roadway, the road shoulder, pedestrian walkway. There aren't any real pedestrian walkways at all there. Parking, seaway property, rail right-of-way, green space. It's an undeveloped area, which is poorly lit and sadly neglected. This area was not finished in the last process. That was when the promenade was built, but it was left to the next CIP, and that's now. We need to work on that one, and it wasn't addressed at all in this CIP. We don't have any community information kiosks, another thing that was wanted. We need one at the market, probably Harbor Master House or the promenade somewhere. And the only other thing I want to mention, although there's lots more, is the opportunities to enhance public and private spaces. Street amenities and green spaces could be located in other areas other than the curb extensions. And I think that with a lot of creativity and partnership, we can do that. And I'm going to just mention a few spots. King George Park, instead of putting those benches and everything like that over on the side, past the sidewalk next to the road, put them on the green space. Market Square on Charlotte Street and Catherine Street, exactly the same. You have a curb extension proposed, and you have space behind where, as you pointed out, that it's a ship's wheel on the thing. You could have all the amenities that you need protected and inside the sidewalk as opposed to on the roadway. Aren't you the one who always complains about that planter there, Mayor Badaway, that's in the corner? You can't stand that one, you know, when you turn the corner because you say it's not good for visibility. Perhaps we...
Actually, no, I don't.
No? I thought I'd heard you complain about that one right over there when you come around the corner. But at any rate, I think that it's important to note that it's probably better to have it not out in the roadway. At the corner of Clarence and Elm Streets, which is a food basis corner.
If I may, we're at that point in time.
Sure.
But just to clarify.
Sure.
I thought I heard that there wasn't going to be a planter put over there.
I'm sorry?
No. Gord or Mr. Shields, there wasn't going to be a planter put over there, was there?
Not a planter, but a curb extension and other amenities in both those spaces.
No planter. Okay. Anyways, if I may, Mickey, great job. Members of council, are there any questions or comments to the presenter? Councillor Bonner.
Thanks for the presentation, Mickey. A lot of people bitch and complain about things. You actually get up here and give some examples of what could be done, and so thank you for that. Not everything I agree with you on, but you make a lot of sense in some points. I guess you're asking for what looks like a rethink on a whole bunch of these items.
I am.
And I guess I will not go any further with you, but I will talk to Mr. Shields when you're done, or anybody else has any questions, just to see if there's he has any experience in modifying some of the things you brought up. And so once again, thank you. And so you're looking actually for this to be put on hold. And am I right?
No, I'm sorry. I'm asking for it not to be passed because I think it needs to be changed. Maybe I didn't make myself clear. I think changes need to be made. It needs to be. We definitely need work downtown. It's gone way too long. But what's the point of coming to all these meetings to give your input if it's all done without anything you wanted?
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Councillor?
Thanks. That's fine for now.
Further questions or comments to the presenter? With none? Thank you, Mrs. Ming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Members of council, are there any further questions or comments to this report? Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if Mr. Shields could come back up and just have a couple of questions on something that Mickey had brought up about those curb extensions or bump outs, common things. Have you had any experience in other communities where you've presented, I guess, what is kind of a cookie cutter approach to what you put on the corners? Have you shrunk those before? Have you redesigned them? What's been the result?
Yes, Councillor, we do have experience through the mayor to respond to those comments. We do have experience in implementing these types of downtown streetscaping features. It's a bit of a misnomer that they're not really bump outs. They're I guess aesthetic landscaping features within the daylight triangle area of intersection design, and that's what that was a reference to the 15 meters that was referenced at the corners. So you know, these are features at the corners, but they're mainly there for the safety reasons. In terms of modifying them, you have to realize that these features really blend into the existing parking that's already on the streets. If you look at a street without these features at the corners, you still have the parking along the street, which takes up 2.5 meters on each side of the street, plus the through lanes. So that these features really fill in that area at the intersections to delineate these daylight triangles more efficiently, and it provides better control over the road design and the operations of these intersections. So yeah, they're not really bump outs. They're really features that can be used in downtown areas. We've had lots of experience with those. We haven't necessarily had to modify them. They're kind of one of those things, either you have them in or you don't, but we're certainly recommending that you have them in simply because of the safety features and the operational features that they provide. And particularly with this downtown area where parking is so important, and we've maximized the amount of parking that can be accommodated in this plan, but at the same time, preserving those intersection operations with the safety design features at the corners. So I wouldn't recommend modifying them. They do provide features for the downtown streetscaping. In terms of operation, we've also looked at turning movements at the intersections as well to make sure that the trucks can turn in those areas. And it just provides an overall safety feature for the intersections without belaboring that anymore. That's an important feature. And at the same time, it provides areas for streetscaping features at the corners.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. I happen to like them. I don't dislike them. I think I don't know, I just find it kind of, I don't know, cozy on the sidewalk or something. I don't know. It just seems to make the walking area look a little safer or more inviting. But you know, certainly the Mains have a valid point where they are landlocked, their business, you know, for deliveries and everything. Now, is it another 15, 20 feet they have to walk? You know, maybe it is, but I'll ask, I guess I'm done with you, and I'll go to Mr. Hanson maybe. We're going to approve this, and, sorry, we're asked to approve this. Does that give us any leeway in working anything out if there is any changes in the near future? Or will this lock us into this particular design feature hard and fast, and don't say any more about it because this is the way it is?
Mr. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We're, after about a year and a half of consultation with both the BIA and the public meetings, we're fully supportive of this particular design. The BIA has had a lot of input. We met, and Councillor Elliott sat on our committee as well, and we had a lot of input on this. We feel, through all the reasons you've heard here tonight, that these are a valid function, and it's certainly, there's more pluses than negatives to this type of design. We're looking for council's concurrence tonight to the design so we can move forward. I mean, we're still in a position that we're going to have to go back to council. Council's going to have to deliberate this at budget time, whether it be a capital budget or whatever, to determine how much of this project is going to go forward. And certainly there's going to be lots of opportunity, I think, in the future to look at specifics. If there's something specifically that council doesn't want to have included in this plan down the road, whether it be bollards or whatever, that could certainly be discussed in the future. I don't think it's going to lock anybody in. We'll be at the stage where we're going to have some plans ready to go, and those could be modified. But I'd just like to preface that by saying that we're fully supportive, and the BIA, I believe, is fully supportive of this particular design that we come forward with tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you for that. And just one other thing I'd like to comment on. Throughout this and some of the emails and everything, everybody's talking about snow removal. I don't want, you know, unless we put that in at the budget, we're not going to be out on the sidewalks removing snow from everything unless there's a major snowstorm. Am I correct? This is just, you know, we're just talking about the opportunity to be able to do it. And unless we put a lot of money at budget time towards it, I just don't want anybody to be mistaken to think that now, because the parking meter poles and everything are out of there, we're suddenly going to be cleaning sidewalks and everything.
Mr. Hanson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a good question. It's somewhat discretionary depending on the type of winter, and you can remember back a couple of years ago when we had probably a meter or a meter and a half of snow that accumulated by January a couple of years ago. So it's discretionary in that our department then makes a decision to go ahead and do the snow removal for the safety of the pedestrians and for the viability of the businesses that are downtown. We do it only based on weather and those safety type issues to keep the downtown area moving and to that respect. So I think it's a matter of balance. If you were to have a downtown core that had nothing but clear sidewalks, no street furniture, no poles, only signage, snow removal would be easier and cheaper. This is a balance of having a pleasant aesthetic design in the downtown balanced off against maybe the snow removal is going to be somewhat more difficult if you have street furniture in place. So we have to strike that balance. I think the key is that the pedestrian areas in a design of this type are clear throughout. And what you see now in areas where we've tried to put tree plantings and other things in or benches in sidewalk areas that don't have the enhanced width to them, there isn't room to do any of that. Pedestrians are actually walking around some of these amenities. And what this type of design does is it really frees up a clear pedestrian right away, right through the sidewalk without these type of encroachments in the pedestrian areas. So it's a balance of the two, and snow removal, it's strictly weather dependent and keeping the downtown going.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Members of council, further questions? Councillor Bodner.
This will be my last, and it's just a statement. I'm going to support this. Somewhat on what Ron has said, where they're, we're a little ways down the road from this. I like the concept, and I've been on vacation for a month, so I haven't had a chance to walk around to the merchants and get their feel on how they like all this. But when I'm doing my Christmas shopping, I'll be asking the store owners their input on what they've seen and how they feel. I certainly understand where the Mains are coming from on their particular problem. There may be some others that have some, quirks that, and whether they like the bollards or furniture or whatever. But I am going to support it with those caveats in there that I'll check with the merchants and see how they feel. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bodner. I have Councillor Desmarais, then Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. Hanson, how many public meetings were there, Ron, to deal with this design?
Mr. Hanson.
Check. Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just checking with staff. There was one public meeting, but we had quite a number of technical advisory committee meetings with the BIA representatives and council representatives and our consultant team as well. So there was a lot of input that went through that. The latest public meeting we had was just a few weeks ago, I guess. I don't remember the exact date. I think we had, the results of it are in the report itself. I think we had about 7 or 8 people out at the meeting for additional input.
Councillor?
Thank you. I wanted to make a point of that because it's been told to me by members of the public that they felt locked out of this process. They weren't aware of technical advisory meetings. They are not part of the BIA. They're not part of the business community, but they're taxpayers. They're taxpayers who will be on the hook for part of it. And they want to hear, one public meeting wasn't enough for them. So just, I want everybody to be aware that that's been said so that, we know that that's out there and that thought is there. Did you want to, okay?
Mr. Hanson, while answering that or making a statement on that, how many people actually showed up to the public meeting?
Again, I think the number was something like 7.
Very low, yes, I know.
If I could just respond to Councillor Desmarais'
sure.
Statement. All the meetings we have, the technical advisory committees, are all public. I mean, with Councillor Elliott there and others, all the BIA members were well aware of it. So any meeting we have here is a public meeting. So anybody could have attended the meetings and had their input. I know some people probably did drop in during that time. So through this entire process for over a year's time, these meetings were all public, and all the BIA members, and they were updated on a regular basis through their group that these meetings were going on, and the dates were readily available. So I think the opportunity was there in all fairness.
And I'm glad you said that so that people who are watching COGECO understand that they did have an opportunity. So that's an important point to make in this. But I wanted to just go on to ask if the intersection of Charlotte going left onto West Street, that's a challenge at any time. But will that be improved at all as to sight lines with the changes that have been made, or should we maybe look at directional traffic?
Mr. Hanson?
Mr. Mayor, I think you know the answer to this.
Don't go there.
Through the original design process, we had a study done, a separate traffic study was done to address the issue of West Street traffic flow. Council debated this over a period of time, and a decision was made at that time by council to leave the traffic as is in terms of directional flow. We looked at alternatives of having it one-way northbound, one-way southbound, and all the alternatives to that. And the decision was made after looking at all the pros and cons of that it remained as it was the best way to have this function in terms of traffic, the bridge operation, which really is a key to the operation of West Street and Clarence Street. The sightline issue is a building. So really the only way to address the sightline issue from that would be a stricter traffic control that would stop vehicles coming southbound on West Street. And that's something that was looked at in the traffic study. Again, it was a couple of years ago, but we could certainly bring that out and make that available to you if you'd like to take another look at that in terms of the traffic.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Councilor?
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to correct something I had said earlier. What I was calling planters, it was the concrete seating that I was talking about. I just want to make sure that's proportional, because that's the one thing that bothers me about Main Street is that things seem out of proportion. I just wanted to make sure that we thought about this and it was truly proportional. But just to be really clear on the bike lanes, I think we're making a big mistake here. We need to allow for bike traffic, or just, reduce the number of bike racks to almost none, because you're inviting people in, you're giving them a perception that bikers are welcome, and then you're providing them an unsafe environment to be there. That doesn't make sense. It just really doesn't. I think we should rethink that one.
Well, just to clarify that, the discussion that we had was that we have the promenade coming through the downtown area. The expectation is that when people actually go down through the downtown area, they would actually walk their bikes. Right now, we don't have, as was stated earlier, the reality is that there's not enough room on the road. But also the reality is that we've had some challenges with respect to people riding their bikes on the sidewalk. So with that said, the expectation has always been that when they get into the Clarence Street downtown area or even the West Street area, besides the promenade, and let's face it, we have a lot of people going on the promenade with their bicycles. And if they're going to go left on Clarence, then the expectation would be for them to walk their bikes or even park their bikes at a bike rack, lock them up, and go shop. But based on if they go right, then of course they would continue down the East Side Trail.
Well, considering that maybe we should have signage that all bikes must be walked in the downtown core.
We do.
That would solve the problem.
We
Okay,
do.
well, I'm not seeing it then.
They're all over.
All over the downtown core, we have signage that says that.
Do not ride your bike on the sidewalks.
No, I meant don't ride your bikes, period. Walk them.
Well,
You can't, because we're making roads, if
You
we're
would
going
think- you would
to have
think
our
that-
roads bottleneck, it's unsafe. So they walk them all over the downtown core,
Yeah.
not ride them at all. That'll be good.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Butters?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things, I'm not sure whether Mr. Hanson can answer them or the presenter can answer them, but these are some of the issues that Mrs. Main did bring up of like what's missing. So could someone tell me about the signage that was deferred from 2008 and how that's going to be handled in this situation, whether it's the Welcome to Downtown Port Colborne or locator signs and Custom Street signs? And then as well, as she pointed out, the clock at Clarence and King, how that will be addressed. Then also, as well as I'd like to have some idea of the north of the harbor front, the Star, if there's more of a plan for that area. It doesn't seem to be as addressed as it could be. Thank you.
Councilor. Mr. Hanson?
The issue of the clock is in your council pack, your budget package that's coming forward at our first budget meeting. We've included all the details for either refurbishment costs or replacement of the clock at some point, some area within the downtown CIP. So that's That's included in the budget package. There was no money budgeted in 2012 for the clock, so that's why it's coming forward into 2013. And then again, it might be somewhat dependent on CIP funds that are available. On the street name signs, our plan is to have the distinctive Port Colborne style street name signs that you see in some areas like on Main Street. And we also have them on the traffic signal arms at locations like Steele and Clarence and Elm and Clarence. So it's our intent to continue with those. They're quite nice. They have the city logo on the top and the decorative logos on that. So that's being planned as well. I don't know if perhaps staff or Gord could speak to the issue of the welcome signs. I know we've just went through the whole process this year of finishing all the tourism signs, the destination signs for downtown Port Colborne. Those are all in place. I don't know if the welcome signs, I'm not certain of that point, whether they were to be included in the CIP or not. You guys have any?
Gentlemen?
So that's something we'll acknowledge that should have been looked at in terms of the design, and we'll go back and take a look at that particular item.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Councillor?
And then just the north of the Star.
Thank you.
The section going towards the Smoking Buddha.
We can take a look at that as well. That area is included in the plan. It's on federal lands, but we still have the right of way over that with the roadway and that. Certainly we could probably enhance or take a look at enhancing within the design pedestrian access across there. I think is a good suggestion to take a look at.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes, we can include that. It would be another look at the design for that particular area. That area is included, so we'll just take a look at a pedestrian enhancement for that area. We will.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I can speak to the hours that were put in. Gary Talasi and Tony Spiteri are part of the Technical Advisory Committee, and we spent hours going over. I think the biggest thing that we did was parking, because nobody wanted parking diminished. We tried to increase it, keep as much as we could. The corners didn't reduce parking downtown. In fact, I think we actually increased it. Yeah. So in the end, that was everybody's biggest concern. I got to agree with Gord. When they went through the drawings and everything, the corners now promote you to stand out so people can see you. It is a downtown. We've got truck traffic that go through King Street, Clarence Street, Steele Street. You can't do anything about it because it's a truck route. You can't get them out. Can we make it safer? I don't know how you can because of the width of the street. It is what it is. You've got on-street parking. You've got truck traffic that goes through. If, like I said before, if you put a bike lane in, you can't get trucks down the street. Now you're telling people to ride your bike in this area with trucks passing. I like the design. Is it a carbon copy of Main Street? No, but I think the synergies that we talked about was that if we had standard lights and street furniture, if something broke, we would have it in inventory, and we could switch out from Main Street to downtown, which would keep our costs down, which we considered and thought it would be good. Did we discount anybody's input? No. I think that we were open with the BIA in our meetings. We told them what we were doing every time we had a meeting with Gord and his group, and we brought it back to the BIA and put it out for everybody to discuss. Are we trying to say that we don't take into consideration the rest of the community? No, I don't think so. But I think what we looked at is if we're going to improve the downtown, who does it impact the most? The business owners, the BIA, the taxpayers that come down and shop. And like Mickey said, it's going to slow traffic down. It's going to make it harder to drive. You know what? That's great, in my view, because if it's harder to drive, park your car, get out and walk, and come. Just no. You had your turn, right? Well, business goes down. Everybody in. Sorry. Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. I'd like to see it more walkable. This promotes walking. I don't know if Mr. Talasi would like to get up and say a few words, or if Tony wants to get up and say a few words on behalf of the BIA. I don't, if council would like to because they were part of the process. And we did everything as open and as inclusive as possible. I think we've got it pretty good. Is it going to be perfect for everybody? I don't think so. I don't think you'll ever get it perfect for anybody. But when it comes to the location of the trees, the benches, bollards, anything like that, this isn't written in stone. I think we do have the possibility to move things around as we see fit. You want to put a couple extra trees, you can put a couple extra trees in. It's just a matter of putting a hole in the ground in the trees. So it isn't exactly as drawn, but it gives us a good basis to go on. So if it pleases council, if Gary or Tony wants to say anything on behalf of the BIA, I'd invite them up.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Is there interest from the BIA to speak? Gary, if you want to come on up.
That we think that, or we know that our input has been taken into account. The CIP did have a CIP, the BIA did have a CIP coordination committee, and we met on at least 3 occasions in my office on Clarence Street. We met on at least 3 occasions here in City Hall with city staff and the consultants. The members of that CIP coordination committee were Bob Porter, Fred Davies, John Main, and myself. And on most occasions, Councillor Elliott attended also. At each BIA meeting that we've had, an agenda item has been a report from the CIP Coordination Committee. And as chair of that committee, I would give the reports if I were in attendance. Sometimes there's been nothing to report because we were waiting back from the consultants for work that we had asked them to do. But in general, we kept the BIA members up to speed on what was happening. We sent out an invitation to all of our BIA members by way of email for the open house that was held here in November. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, and I believe the right number was 6 or 7 in attendance. Mrs. Main was here. I was here. I believe there might have been 2 other members of the BIA who attended out of that 6 or 7 in total. So I'm not sure what else we could have done. Some of the issues Mrs. Main raised tonight, I can honestly say this is the first time I heard them. And I don't see this thing as carved in stone. I mean, I think the city always has the right to make changes that make sense down the road. But in general, I see the council approving this. And if and when the money becomes available, we just spend a little more time fine-tuning it.
Thanks, Gary. Members of council, any questions or comments to the presenter? Councillor Bonner.
Not to the presenter, sorry, but just on a general thing that these plans that you see on that big thing is available on the city website now. And I just wondered, they only appeared, I believe, on Thursday or Friday this week. Anyways, I just wondered whether in the future, if we have something like this, I don't know how soon we can get them up there, but it certainly would give people an opportunity that may not, for whatever reason, want to come out to the meetings or can make it, to simply take a look at something on the website. But they are there now if anybody wants to take a look at them.
Thank you, Councillor. Questions or comments to the presenter? Mr. Shalasi, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time this evening. Members of council, back to the main motion, the report that's been presented by Councillor Elliott. Are there any further questions or comments? Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only one. To do with the bike lanes, was there any consideration to bike lanes on not those kind of main arterial roads, but more the secondary roads?
Mr. Hanson.
And could there be if?
Through Mr. Mayor, any areas that you have on-street parking, and generally the BIA has on-street parking on both sides, a dedicated bike lane is not safe. It's not suitable. It's not, the roads aren't wide enough. You need 2 traveled laneways for the traffic, especially when you have trucks as we have in many of these. Even on the secondary roads, we've got pretty well parking on both sides. It's totally unsafe to have a dedicated bike lane. And I can give you an example. When the design for Clowley Street West that's going forward now, there's going to be dedicated bike lanes on both sides of Clowley Street. But what that requires is that there's no parking. Okay?
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions or comments, members? Members of staff, any further questions or comments? Members of council, your pleasure to the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Thank you. And thank you all for attending this evening. Appreciate your time. We'll now move on to item 2. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. That the Council of the City of Port Colborne award the request for proposal architect for the Port Colborne Operations Center Design Bid Build Project to McCallum Sather Architects, Inc. of Hamilton, Ontario for the total proposed price of $361,400 plus applicable taxes, and B, that the project be debentured in the amount of $361,400 excluding taxes through the Infrastructure Ontario Loan Program for a period of 30 years, and C, that the appropriate bylaws be drafted and submitted for execution by the Mayor and City Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Do I have a seconder to that, please? Councillor Desmarais. And before I go to questions, Mr. Sinez, did council not already approve the debenture on this project for these uses?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at the budget, it was noted that it would be up to $800,000 based on design and the project manager and the design consultant, and this is just confirming that this is the price that's going forward.
So what in fact did we improve? And what I'm getting at is that are we looking at a reconsideration here?
No, what will happen is at the budget process, we approved up to $800,000 for this. What will happen is what will happen, Mr. Mayor, is that What will happen is for the debenture issue itself, once we have the costing, another report has to come back to council through myself to actually confirm the loan or the debenture for it to go to the region, for them to finally approve that, and then it goes forward, but as a resolution of council. So there's a number of processes that actually have to take place, and this is basically what's in the report here is confirming that this is going to be debentured, and this is now the actual cost. But another one will come back with the whole all the debentures that we will have to do, because we have not at this point in time brought it all forward to the region because we're waiting for actual cost before we can actually go to the debenture and the loan.
Thank you, Peter. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. None of my questions are on the debentures. I guess a couple of things to discuss. Page 38 of the report, or it's actually page 4 of 6, but 38 in our package, where it says additional scope of work required the architect to reconsider design for a proposed second-story office space. It goes on to mention about discussion around selling Rose Lawn and moving staff around, and I guess that kind of caught me by surprise. I hadn't heard that before. First of all, I'm not so sure that the sale of Rose Lawn we've really discussed a whole lot. And then to move the staff out of there, staff in at Rose Lawn that we would move out would be, I'm thinking 9. Between economic development, tourism and marketing, and community services. Is that about right? 9 people? 10? Okay, 10. To bring them onto the second floor and move operations, or Ron's department, over to there. Are we going to get a costing of that at all to add a second story on? This building and all of the ancillary costs that go with it is pushing $6.5 million without the second story.
I just wondered, are we going to get a costing of what the second story would be? It seems, I don't know how many people in here are in engineering and operations that would move over 10 more. What a cost to build a second story to accommodate 10 people would be. If you could make a comment on that.
Mr. Hanson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Elliott. The idea was put out with some of the things that have transpired with Roselawn that we may have to relocate staff from Roselawn at some point in time. And of course, no decision's been made on that yet. At the same time, we were going through this process with our committee to hire an architect. So what we did in terms of this proposal and following up on the idea that it may be feasible to move 10 people from engineering and combine engineering and operations, and council hadn't deliberated this yet, of course, what the feasibility would be to move the 10 people from City Hall to this sort of a combined operation and move the 10 people from Roselawn to City Hall seemed to make some sense. But the timing was such that when we were in the process of hiring the architect, we didn't want to hire them without the idea that perhaps we should get a price on what their fees might be to design some addition. And the architects wouldn't know at this point. It's strictly a second addition based on the footprint of the existing building that was being proposed. So what we did in the proposal, we put a provisional item in for the architects to give us a percentage cost fee to design a second floor. And that's all we've done. It's not included in their price. So if we go forward with the design and council deliberates that this in fact may be a worthwhile idea to proceed with this design and see what the cost, at least to generate the cost of this second floor, we can do that now because we've included it in the proposal. And that's as far as we went with it.
Thank you, Councillor. And I think for the most part, what staff's given us is some options here. I think as it says in the report, with what's happening with Roselawn, or what's not happening at Roselawn, there has to be a reality check and I guess somewhat of a gut check with where we're moving forward, especially with the fact that we're running into some budgetary constraints with respect to our operations as well as capital budget. So, Councillor.
I guess just quickly, if we're not going to do the second story on the original build, can you build the single-story building with a foundation that's going to support an addition after? And ballpark, what's the additional cost? Maybe with Lyle sitting there, you can kind of throw something out. Is it a huge cost to build it in advance of the second story?
Mr. Hanson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The costs involved, the extra costs involved, there's not a whole lot of extra cost for the structure itself. Most of the costs would be involved in barrier-free access to that second story. So you were looking at some sort of an elevator, providing a barrier-free access and some heating, ventilation stuff. Almost all of the costs are fire separation and an elevating device. Those would be the two major cost factors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Heil.
Your Worship, we're getting into design. The intention in the report was to provide as much opportunity as we can to give you options. Nothing more, nothing less. And this doesn't get us in design. All it does is get us to a point where we can price what the options are. We can't simply come to council and say this is the final. You make that decision, not staff. We want to make sure that whatever we bring you is as many options as we can think of, and that's what the report was designed to do.
Thank you, Mr. Heil. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Heil. One last question through you, Mayor, to Mr. Sinez. On page 46, it says financing cost in the chart of the package. And the debenture cost at 3.85%, and it says $237,250. Is that the total cost of the debenture, or is that 1 year's interest?
Mr. Sinez.
That would be the total the total actual interest cost
For the 6.6.
At the 3.65% interest. So that's the actual financing cost
over the 30
involved.
years.
Over the 30 years, on $800,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's $800,000.
Yeah.
Not on the 6.6.
That's
Okay.
Okay,
No, because the actual construction will come later.
great, thank you. But that raises a good point. Like, when we look at the debenture, are we gonna debenture the 300,000 plus the monies that we've already used up to the 800,000, which included the EA, includes the archaeological, it includes a lot of the other. Are we gonna bundle that with the ultimate construction cost?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll be looking to do debenturing everything to date, and we'll be putting that out, and then, once we do get into the construction, and that comes forward, which will probably be 2014, then we'll debenture at that point in time for the construction. So it'd be in two parts.
So why would we debenture for 30 years, $300,000?
Basically, it's cash flow. Like, you're looking at $800,000 of cash that we'd be putting out and sitting on out of our cash flow for a year and a half. And the whole asset, the whole building is 30 years, so we're doing, it's the whole project that would be over 30 years. There'd be a year and a half so gap between the major construction and the consultant and design and so on.
Like, I get that, and I agree with the 6.6 over 30 years, but I can't say that I necessarily agree with the 300,000 over 30 years, unless you're gonna bundle it. If you're gonna bundle it, that's fine, but if you're not gonna bundle it, and that's what I thought you were doing here when I read this sheet here.
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor, what you'll be debenturing currently is, I believe, about just over 700,000. So the 800,000 was the ballpark estimate.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's coming in with the design, the project manager, the consultants, yeah, on page 45 is the total.
Project manager, geotech, architecture,
Geotech,
EA.
right. So you're getting close to the $800,000 for that whole part being bundled together to be done once. We've been sort of, the cost to date that we've had, we've been, out of our cash flow, we've been financing that ourselves until the point in time when we know what exactly all these costs are. And now that we know what these costs are, we can debenture this part of it.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Further questions or comments, members? With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Thank you. Peter, just off to the side, the Ontario loans that we're looking at, what is the interest rate right now?
They're currently under 4%.
Under 4%, okay. Great. Okay, let's move on to item 8. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. That the Council of the City of Port Colborne approves the East Community route change to accommodate the providing of transit services to the Valet Health and Wellness Center effective January 21st, 2013.
Thank you, Councillor. A seconder to that, please. Councillor Steele, questions or comments? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to staff, and I don't know who to ask it to, when I looked at the map, the only thing, Peter? The only thing that I noticed, and I know it's, we're going to change on the east side, the bus doesn't go by the skate park.
Mr. Sinez?
You're correct, it doesn't. Right now, it doesn't go down Mellenby, and so no, we haven't looked at that particular part of it. What we're looking at this particular was getting out to the community center. Part of the lead designation for the community center was to have public transportation out to that building, and so one of the things was to ensure that we can get people out to there. And it's something I can bring back to the transit committee if you do want me to.
Councillor?
Because it's the first time I really looked at the bus map in detail to see where it goes, and I like that. I did have some people that questioned, well, probably 6 months ago, they were having trouble getting out just along Main Street East to some of the shops where the former Sears building and stuff was, and they were wondering, can we ever get transit? So I'm glad to see that. And then I just happened to notice it's like, we don't even go by where we're putting the skate park in, and I thought, well, if we're going to change it to go out the Valet, maybe at the same time we can have a look in with transit to maybe implement something there too as well.
So we're going to take a look at that, Peter? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Any further questions or comments, members? Councillor Steele.
Just to that, if you look at the map that's supplied, the bus does go by the park at the Main Street. Is there a stop there currently in that vicinity?
Mr. Sinez?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at Lockheed Park is where you're looking at on Main Street. It can stop there if there's a, location is there. Basically, right now, we don't have
Designated
stops. They can stop where they please. So if there are people on there, they could get on there and then walk down through the park.
Yeah, so there is currently, yeah.
There's that possibility.
Councilor?
Yeah, no, it's good, because, looking at the map, I know it does go by there, I just didn't know if it pulled in at all at any time or not, but if they can ring the bell and it stops, then yeah, they go
I think it's a
to
good
the top of
idea.
the park and they flow through. I mean, I have no problem with that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's a good idea that we can look at that. The other thing is, if that bridge is up, I'll have to check with them, I'm not sure, but I'm almost thinking that they go down Melody and then to the second bridge and then come back up Welland and bypass to keep the flow going, which means, that could be part of the process, if they had to, if they knew somebody wanted to go down there or wanted to pick. So we could look at that. I'll bring that back to the Transit Advisory Committee and we'll have them look at that.
Great, thanks, Peter. Councilor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The discussion at MIAC originally was that the bus would drop them off on Main Street and the young people, the youth, would find their way to the skateboard park. And if you ever go visit there, I mean, there's nothing to it. There's nothing to doing that. So it works out. I know that MIAC had discussed exactly that, and one of the reasons why they picked Lockheed Park is that the bus went by Main Street. That was the idea.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Doucette. Further questions or comments on the report, members? Staff's good? With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That'll be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 9. Is that you again, Councilor Elliott? You're just monopolizing this meeting, aren't you?
Huh? I didn't think the presentations were going to go so long.
Go ahead, Councilor.
The council receives this report as information and continues to support community service staff to develop year-round recreation and event programs and approve the Centennial Pool celebration for December 15th, 2012.
Thanks, Dave. Members of council, seconder. Councilor Butters, questions or comments? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick comments and questions. Page 74 of the report, it says that the skating program, Skates for Kids programs, it says that during the 2 weeks of this program was offered, a total of 818 children and youth participated, generating revenues of $4,090. The 818 figure, is that number of people that came through the gate to go and play, or is that single-time users? So there was 818 individual kids that came to play.
Mr. Hakeem?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Elliott, that was total users. It could have been people that were just recurring users, but that was the total users that actually paid to take part in the program.
Councilor?
Thank you. When I saw the number, I thought if it was individual users, I thought, well, we hit a home run and a whole lot of kids came to use it. But I can understand if there might have been multiple times that they came. So it's still good to see that that the kids came out to use the ice. I guess the other thing that I was looking at, when I look at the schedule for ice users on pages 78 and 79 for the 2 pads, and it says that we've booked up 100% of our ice time. Yes or no? Yeah.
Mr. Hakeem?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Elliott, I would say we're as close to 100% as possible. And you'll have to understand that there's an ongoing evolution of trying to program, particularly a new facility. And we haven't even gotten into summer programming yet, but we have feelers out there based on a lot of information that we're dealing with. And I know that the program individual that's on staff right now is certainly looking at filling every possible time slot. And we're continuously evolving with the program opportunities that the city in the past perhaps hasn't been involved with. And some of the things, like for example, PA days and things of that nature, you know that the school is closing tomorrow. We actually, Brian came up with a marvelous idea to kind of take the 3-hour time slot that we lost due to the closure, because one of the schools canceled their program, And we're actually opening it up to the kids to utilize it tomorrow for that 3-hour block and perhaps see what kind of response we get. And that will lead us into programming for PA days and other opportunities down the road. But that's as close to 100% as we can get. And there are some slots here or there. So I would say it's closer to like maybe 95% as opposed to 100. But we're doing a good job in terms of trying to fill every possible time slot. The most challenging slots will be the daytime slots.
Thank you. Councilor?
And it's great. The only thing that disappoints me is when I look at it, is when the facility was first proposed a couple years ago. I guess it was one of the first things that we did with council. We looked to get girls hockey, ringette, figure skating. Broomball, I think, was pushed around or anything like that. And I don't see any of that for girls. And I don't know whether or not there's no interest. I know that there was talk of figure skating to come back to town because we've got two bigger pads for them to come in on. And I just wondered if there was a general comment, if you've seen reason why there isn't, or is there still room for them to come in if they need?
Mr. Hakeem, but I'm going to also go to Councilor Steele because I know he's got an interest in that as well. Mr. Hakeem?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Elliott, we are actually in dialogue with some organizations, particularly girls' activities. So it's something that certainly we're looking into. I know that Brian has had some discussions with other sporting organizations where women activities or girls' activities are certainly being addressed. So I will certainly bring some of this information back to him, but I know that he's currently working on that.
Councilor Steele?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councilor Elliott. Port Colborne Minor Hockey has embarked on starting a girls' division. We were really hoping to get it off the ground for this season. Unfortunately, with the makeup of how the Ontario Women's Hockey Association and their subsidiary groups, in this case the Great Lakes Hockey League, works is very different from how the OMHA works. We had to get approval from who we thought was the governing body, which in all essence they are, is the Ontario Women's Hockey Association. We were approved very quickly by them. We proceeded to apply for teams, but then we needed approval from the Great Lakes and District Hockey League, which is the girls' league out of Niagara, and kind of the Golden Horseshoe. The unfortunate part about it is they don't work in tandem with their meetings, so their meeting was very late in the spring. By the time they gave us the approval, we had lost the majority of our girls to other centers because they were given a drop-dead deadline to register. So now that we've been approved, we've been working this whole year on telling our girls that we have the go-ahead, register here first, you can play in Port Colborne, and we'll have the ice time for you. And we've worked with Brian on this. We also are a member of the Southern Tier Admirals AAA Association, which used to be solely run by Welland Minor Hockey. Under the Ontario Minor Hockey Association, that can't happen anymore. That was changed a couple of years ago. So that association now takes in the 7 communities that feed it, which are Cayuga, Dunnville, Waynfleet, Port Colborne, Welland, Thorold, Pelham, and that's it. So those 7 associations put representation on a board. I happen to sit on behalf of the Port Colborne Minor Hockey Association. So that association now will start buying ice through Port Colborne Minor Hockey, which we've done through Brian, to bring 2 teams out of Port Colborne. We did have the major midget team here this year, but unfortunately it folded due to lack of numbers at that age level. Kids tend to go back to their home center after their draft year, which is fine. There's changes coming about with that, so we'll deal with that. But so next year we're looking at bringing 2 teams here. This year we did host the we are hosting the minor Adam team, which is working out well. As far as other things, Port Colborne Minor Hockey and the Golden Puck Hockey Committee have partnered over the last number of years running a pre-tyke program, skating program. When the figure skating club folded, their can skate program went with it, so you had to go to other communities. We brought that back A number of years ago, we had several of our members embark on that and in partnership with Port Colborne Minor Hockey. And we've kind of shut it down for about 8 or 9 months because of the arena situation, but now it's starting back up at Christmas time. We've sold that program out, and it'll blend in with the new facility perfectly, and then we'll continue that, and we continue to run our hockey school, which is run by the Golden Puck, again, in partnership with Port Colborne Minor Hockey in late August. So we are continuing to evolve as an association to bring more things on. And speaking with staff, putting on my community center hat, is that, you know, we're trying to get a figure skating club, you know, those other types of events that can come in. I know they're working very hard at that. We hope that we can draw in a figure skating club at some point. But I know they're in negotiations, and you know, we can hear about that later. So those things are evolving. I mean, I think it's really the time of where we are and when we're going to open and all that. Once we get the new year under our belt, we get into the summertime, we get our feet on the ground. Next season, you're going to see a totally different menu as far as I'm concerned with regards to how the arenas will work, and we'll be adding things on. I mean, picking up the goalie coach out of the Montreal Canadiens, although I'm a Leaf fan, I think it's a great thing for the goaltenders of Niagara, where there really isn't an elite program offered. So through a connection that I had, we were able to get that guy in touch with Brian. If everybody read it in the paper, he's going to come in and run those. Hopefully he'll expand that again for that summer ice. So, you know, we were able to accommodate him where other centers around us with summer facility ice weren't either willing or couldn't accommodate him. So, you know, those things are a coup for us. And, you know, when we've got our ear to the ground, and, you know, and my connections out there in the hockey world, as far as, you know, I'm in rinks all over. 2 weeks ago, I spent 3 days in about 6 arenas in the province, traveling from arena to arena in one weekend, trying to run a tournament team in Delhi and getting up to St. George and in Dunnville and in Port Colborne and in St. Catharines. And, I mean, you know, so, but you talk to these guys, and you also talk to the other associations that are involved with it. You know, I was just in Niagara Falls yesterday. Who do I run into? Guy from Port Colborne, whose daughter plays girls hockey in Niagara Falls, asking me, well, what's Port Colborne going to do next year? Because now you have more time. I was able to speak to people within that organization, and you know, these things help us to bring more teams down. They want more teams. I mean, you really only have St. Catharines and Niagara Falls that run girls hockey. I think they would hate to lose our girls, but I think they see the bigger picture where if that whole scenario of hockey can expand within Niagara, it's better for their association, and it can also encompass Port Colborne Minor Hockey. So hope that's a good enough update.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Councillor Elliott.
And I guess I can ask through you to Harry or to Councillor Steele. After being raised in that great municipality to the north of St. Catharines and getting up at the ungodly hour of 5 o'clock to go and practice, we don't open our arenas till 8 o'clock in the morning every day. And I just wondered why we don't utilize the 6 to 8 a.m. times. When I played, it was morning ice. And when I coached AAA out of St. Catharines, it was morning ice, and it was 5:45 practices, and then the kids could get off to high school for 8 o'clock. We had all our older kids first thing in the morning. You got, 7 days a week, 2 hours on each ice. You get 28 hours that you could utilize that we're not, and I just wondered why we don't, or if there's no demand for it.
Mr. Hakeem.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor, we will be through operations, we're discussing the operating hours because of what the Y is doing. We're going to try and mirror some of those time slots. And in fact, I think the staff will be showing up approximately an hour before we're going to have ice time. And we're going to make ice available as early as 7. So we are kind of moving that way to bring things up and see what the demand is like.
It's demand. Yeah, it's demand.
It is. It's demand. But we want to try and fill those slots with, the various age groups. And just hopefully fill those slots starting at 7 o'clock. But it's an operational thing too, so we've got to cooperate with our partners over in operations to make sure that everything works out.
Thank you, Mr. Hakeem. Councillor? That's all. Councillor Steele?
I invite Councillor Elliott this Wednesday to join me. You can sit in the crowd and watch practice. We will be there at 6:15 at the West Arena. We do use early ice at the West Arena. When I started coaching, we started at 7 a.m. Saturday mornings. We did get away from that for a while. We started at 8 o'clock. Whether it was a city issue or a minor hockey issue at that time, I'm not sure. But when I started in minor hockey, previous to having kids, we always started at 7 a.m. On weekends. But we haven't had early morning practices since there was only the West Arena. And then when they opened up two arenas, we were able to accommodate everything in the daytime and then into the nighttime. So, but you're more than welcome to come on Wednesday morning.
And I'll take a pass at that.
Skates on.
You know, a lot of other parents that don't like 6 a.m. practices.
Thank you, councillors. Members of council, any further questions or comments? I have Councillor Bodner, then over to Mr. Sinez.
Just one, Mr. Mayor, through you to Councillor Steele, just because he brought it up that he's a Leaf fan, and you know, it's, what are we, December 10th, and the Leafs are tied for first place. That's the first time that's happened in 40 years or so. So anyways, just thought I'd throw that out.
Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In this same report, by the way, and I'm hoping it's not going to be lost, is a Centennial Pool celebration in that whole package. And I was looking at this, and there is a free swimming time from 1 to 2:30. The last time there was a free swimming time like that, that pool was so full that I considered it dangerous, and my grandchildren, we pulled them out of the pool. I'm hoping that that's not the same situation that's going to happen on that day, but hopefully everyone is prepared for that, because the minute everyone hears about the fact it's free, the place fills up very quickly. And it's not a large facility, it's a small facility. So I hope everyone comes, because we need to celebrate the fact that it's been open for 45 years and it will be closing down, and we know that. But at the same time, I have some concerns about an hour and a half of free swimming where everyone that comes in can go swimming. And that pool does have a certain capacity that it cannot go over. So it's just a concern of mine that I wanted to make sure that everyone in COGECO is aware of. That's great, but be careful.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Hakeem.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Doucette, we will be monitoring attendance, and the staff will be controlling the attendance in the pool so it doesn't exceed occupancy and load. And we'll have sufficient guards on duty. And we'll probably have to monitor, the use of the pool so that we can get the maximum in the hour and a half that the pool is open for free swim.
Thank you, Mr. Hakeem. Mr. Sinez.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the only thing I was going to mention also was with regard to the programming. There are things that it's evolving, the programming, and I know Brian Elliott is constantly looking for new things, and in times also like what's going to be happening tomorrow with the public school and the opening it up for skating, those types of things until everything is done and set in programming in the new facility and so on. These types of things, we're looking at filling the space as they come about. So we just want to let council know that the programming is as flexible as possible, and Harry's going to be bringing forward a report in January to develop sort of a guideline policy to enable staff to have that flexibility, because there may be something that comes up that we don't have time to come to council for the exact approval and rates and stuff like that. So we're going to try to come up with something that will give, I guess, staff a little bit of flexibility, that if a program comes up and it's available, ice time is available this weekend type of thing, that we can move forward and get the ice time or any facility, get it working and get it going, and that we, because if we don't, what'll happen is it won't happen, because we have to come back to council for that approval. But what we would like to try to do is create some type of mechanism that we can allow or let council know and what's happening, so that we can move forward without waiting for 2 weeks and miss that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Sinez. Mr. Hakeem, did you want to speak at all any further on this report with respect to the programming?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to the members of council, the facility itself, obviously we know our main anchor will be the Y providing direct programming, but we're also going to be involved in some respects throughout the course of the year. The facility isn't just going to be available to the winter time. Obviously, it's going to be year-round. And summer rentals and activities of that nature that I've highlighted in the report are just, again, we're investigating further. We're going to try and get into those activities more and more as we progress. We really need a full year under our belt to appreciate the value of this facility, as well as the complex as a whole, tying it in with canal days and things of that nature. I know that we've entered into some preliminary discussions with the YMCA about participating as partners with canal days, and without being too premature, there are some details we have to iron out. But it's very similar to what they do in Barrie with Kempenfest Bay Festival. They've been involved with that, so we kind of parallel that activity, and I think we've got some good opportunities here that we're going to explore further for the facility as a year-round complex. So that's just one main thing that I think that's important to bring forward on this. And the last thing was with the pool closure, just to highlight the fact that we do have free swim. There are other activities that we've highlighted. It's in the report as far as this little handout that Mary and her staff prepared. And I guess it's a way that they're going to celebrate the fact that the pool has facilitated the community so well for the last 45 plus years. And I think it's kind of the closure of one, but hopefully the beginning of a new opportunity when we move into the new complex. So we are looking forward to a good participation, and there will be some controls in place, hopefully, and everybody will have an enjoyable time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hakeem. And just, if I may, Harry, to you and your team, and Peter, of course, as well, being the director of that department, good job, well done. I know you guys have been working extremely hard, even before you, Gary, and even Tommy's still around. He just doesn't go away, which is a great thing, by the way. But with all you folks working hard, I know Brian's been working hard at the rink itself, and of course the YMCA. As Bill mentioned earlier, it's going to really enhance the menu of programs that we have in place in the city of Port Colborne, that not only people throughout the city, but throughout the region can take advantage of that robust menu of activities. It really goes to why we built this place in the first place, was the fact of creating that healthy environment, healthy culture, and of course having available for our citizens a lot of fun and different activities. So it's a vibrant community. So I know you guys have been working your tail off, getting ready to get this place opened up in February, but having those programs in place is really going to help the citizens stay that much healthier in the community. So job well done. Great work. So no further questions, members? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thanks, guys. We'll now move on to item 10. Councillor Danch.
That the Council of the City of Port Colborne authorizes the installation of signs at the Lockheed Park, advising that the skateboard and BMX facility is under video surveillance, that Council approves Schedule A minimum rules to observe be temporarily approved, and that the signs accordingly be posted on the site, now pending the final bylaw. The council approves the erection of protective fencing around the perimeter of the park, approximately 280 meters from the end of December 2012 until April 2013, at the cost of $3,600 until the park becomes operational in the spring of 2013.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a second to that, please? Councillor Desmarais, questions or comments? Councillor Danch.
My only concern, I was speaking with B the other night there, and it's item C is the only thing that raised a little question there, is why are we paying for fencing around this? I drove by it today. It's entirely fenced, not well when I went by because somebody had fallen down, but why are we paying for fencing that's already in place? I just wonder why the additional charge.
Now that you brought it up, you might need more fencing. So Mary Ann? Mr. Hakeem.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Dench, I believe that current fencing is the property of the contractor. And so when he's done, I believe, and I can defer to Jim Hoffman, who's in the back, he takes that with him. So it was part of his hoarding and area of control, so that when there's work going on, he has a measure of care and control over the property that he assumes responsibility for.
Councillor?
You would think during the construction time that part of his contract would be to make the area secure, and that fencing should be left in place over the winter months so that we don't have to go and spend $3,600 because I can't understand why they would take it down to bring it back in the spring.
Thank you. Mr. Howe?
Your Worship, the contract we're hoping is going to be finished at the end of December. That's the issue. MIAC has gone through the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. We've sat and discussed it at length. We're hoping to get it sooner. The intricate design and the construction of this took the contractor longer. As council is very well aware. It's a very unique facility. When the contractor is finished, we will not have had, I guess, the winter. We're not sure what the winter is going to bring. Mayor's Youth Advisory Council is requesting in this report that council install a fence similar to what they put up at Canal Days, a good solid fence that's bolted together. Put the signs up because somebody may get in there, and open it in the spring, March or April. Remove the fence. When it's ready to go, it's properly commissioned, and by that time, all the rules and everything will be fully established, and the park can be open for public purposes on opening, giving hopefully the ground around it some opportunity for settle. All of the features completely finished, including any of the support from the various sponsors. So everything is actually finished by the time it's opened in March or April. And that's MIAC's request in this report, is to fence it. Contractor moves out, and the city moves in, puts its fence up, and controls access to ensure that when it's finished, and it's finished by city, that it's opened and available in the spring.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. The short answer, it's not done. and I think for the most part, although the contract is going to be off-site, the project's not going to be done yet. And the last thing we want to do is have somebody go in there and without a completed site hurt themselves, things of that nature. Basically, it's going to be fenced off for the winter until that we can get back on site and complete the project, hopefully in the very early spring. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just a few questions. Number one, the cameras are in. I watched them go up. Maybe through you, sir, to Mr. Heil or anyone else that can. Are the cameras operational right now? Have they been booted up?
Mr. Hakeem.
Yes, I've just been advised that they're operational.
Okay, so we can now, from this building, observe what's going on there. Because if we're going to do this, that's going to be one of the critical things that we need to do.
Mr. Hakeem.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's number one. Number two, with the winter coming along, maybe I can get Mr. Hoopinen to talk to us about that. There are, I gather there may be some deficiency lists that need to be developed with this particular project, and I'd like to know when we will be able to start taking a good look to be able to start doing that, so that when we do open in the spring, we don't have to worry about having them come back and have repairs, which means it's down and when we've just started it. So I don't know if Mr. Hoopinen, if that's okay with everyone, if he can answer that question, because I have a concern with the fact that the winter is going on. We won't be able to get in to take a look at any of those deficiencies.
Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councilor Doucette. The plan now is the majority of the concrete work has been completed. We're waiting on the wave track, which was a requested item by council at the construction award report back in May. And the sidewalks to access the park, the compass feature that's getting finished. You know, with the weather we had today, they lost the day today, but you know, it's looking like good weather for the next week or so. So we should be able to get all those features done within the next week. Then they're already started the final grading. They're talked to their sod supplier, landscaping. It's going to get done. Once the project is completed, we've been going through as features are completed to ensure that they're done properly. There is no deficiencies with that element. So I guess to answer Councillor Doucette's question is that the features have been getting inspected during construction, so that if there is an issue, it gets repaired immediately, so that we're not waiting until the spring to see if there is going to be a deficiency or whatnot. We complete it during the actual construction, so that way when the one-year maintenance warranty starts, possibly at the end of this month or the next month, we can see how this winter affects the park and make sure that there is no deficiencies after this winter, and then go into the next winter to make sure that we're going to have a pristine product to last us several years. So I hope that answered your question.
Thanks, Mr. Trumpman. Any further questions, comments, members?
Thank you.
With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. On to item 13, Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bear with me, this is long. That based upon the following terms, City Council supports the request from Nyan Oil Inc. for a new access from the Port Colborne Energy Park as described in the November 22nd, 2012 correspondence from Nyan Oil Inc. and that no action regarding the changes in access be commenced other than obtaining regional and provincial approvals in principle until after the current Ontario Municipal Board hearings have been completed, and further, that the terms listed below form a prerequisite for final council approval of the proposed new access described above. A, all costs associated with the closure of the existing Klein-Smith Road access to Highway 140 as proposed in the Nyan Oil Inc. letter and attached map showing the proposed configuration of same be at the sole cost of Nyan Oil Inc. B, no actual work be started until this arrangement has been confirmed in an appropriate legal agreement to reflect same to the City of Port Colborne's satisfaction. C, that Nyan Oil Inc. meet with the affected residents and identify any issues that require mitigation and to provide a list of same to the City along with their proposed mitigations of same. Council, while not agreeing to mitigate these, may have to judge the appropriateness of both the issues and the proposed mitigation to decide a final response to this request. D, that Nyan Oil Inc. obtain approvals from all provincial, regional, and City of Port Colborne technical and legal authorities for the proposed changes before any work to implement same is commenced, and that this will be at the full expense of Nyan Oil Inc. E, legal title without conditions for the proposed new municipal access and connection to the existing Klein-Smith properties will be transferred to the City as a part of any permit process to begin construction of the proposed new access. F, no work will be started without an approved schedule of start and finish approved by the City of Port Colborne and an identification of what mitigation measures will be implemented to ensure the existing resident of Klein-Smith Road is not denied ongoing access to that residence. G, as a part of, as a part of approval process noted in D, the City reserves the right as a part of its approval to require a contribution to ongoing maintenance of the proposed new municipal access for where expected from the heavy vehicle traffic access and leaving the Energy Park project. H, the proposed internal servicing network will be a private road network until and unless the proponent and the City of Port Colborne negotiate a different ownership arrangement at a future date. I, zoning and official plan be regularized for the two private properties if required based on changes in road access, frontage, etc., all at the expense of Nyan Oil Inc.
All in one breath. Do I have a second to that, please? Councillor Bodner? Questions or comments? Councillor Butters.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of things that I would I need clarified. When it talks about the residents on Klein-Smith Road, and then it shows the map that Klein-Smith Road at the 140, that intersection would be closed, and then the new one would be some 400 meters north of where it is now, and it shows a roadway that connects the residences up to, I'll call it the new Klein-Smith Road, because I don't know what else to call it. And on page 100, it talks about that being a municipal road or a driveway connection. And so I would like that clarified. The connection from the residence to the road is in blue, and they call that a driveway connection, but in some places it's referred to as a municipal road. On the map, it actually refers as driveway access. So I would like it clarified, is it a municipal road? Is it a driveway? Who maintains it? I don't want this to be a cost to the landowner. Landowner is actually plural, who one lives on Kleinsmith, the other is a property, which there's nothing there yet, and may never, but who cares? I don't want a cost to that landowner. So if I could have that clarified, is it a municipal road? Is it a driveway? What's the intent here?
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Howe?
Mr. Vincent and I spoke at length over this. The intention is that there would be no cost at all to those property owners. The intention also is, Your Worship, is that if there is requirement for maintenance on there, it's not going to be an additional cost to the City of Port Colborne. So they will have open public access to a municipal road allowance, which neither costs them additional funding nor the city.
Thank you, Mr. Howe.
That's the intention.
Councillor Butters?
Thank you. And the other one that I would like you to clarify for me is C of this recommendation. And it says that we're not going to mitigate, well, we're not agreeing to mitigate. It's kind of like, well, we're not agreeing to mitigate these things. We may have to. Could you just clarify what you mean in that C recommendation for?
Mr. Howe?
Your Worship, the intention is here, while there's no cost, it is at the expense. And if in fact there is any kind of an issue that arises that may appear to cause some grief, it is the city that will make the decision so that there isn't an issue or a problem. That's the intention in that. And it's not going to be left to a third party someplace else, like Dion or anybody else. That's the intention.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. Councillor Butters?
And I have one more. I'm going to suggest that we amend this recommendation to include our staff as well as speaking with these landowners. And that's not left entirely up to NION. I think that's going to help avoid any future confusion of a he said, she said, if our staff has that onus as well on them to have communication with these landowners. So I would like that as to be included.
Are you moving that as an amendment? Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder to that amendment, please? Councillor Bodnar, any questions or comments on the amendment? Councillor Bodnar?
I talked to Mr. Monger on this, and I have his email address and said that I would send him Cecil Vincent's, but if it would be better for staff, I'll just send staff Mr. Monger's email address, and then they can send him something, and then they can communicate if that works that way.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Back to the main motion as amended. Further questions? Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you. And speaking to Dan on this road situation, and I guess this will be taken care of when staff talks to him, but you know, he's got some practical solutions. That's a very short road to get out to the highway now, and this one is rather long and cuts across where the wind goes. He's talking about, you know, snow fence. It's going to be, you know, there's going to be some consideration needed there to make this as easy as it was before. So, but I would imagine that all that will come through staff, but you know, he's got concerns of maintenance and everything. So, you know, in talking with staff, Councillor Butters, I think that's a great idea so that he can get some of his questions answered and a certain comfort level with doing that. He does think it's a good idea that the road goes down there, but he's disappointed that he's going to have now a rather long, for lack of a better word, driveway than the very short one that he has now. So,
thank you, Councillor. Further questions, comments? With none to the amended motion, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. That seems to be it. Okay. Members, we're not going to move on to notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion? With no notices of motion, we'll now adjourn this portion of the meeting. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Elliott. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll now move on to the council agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are two addendum items. The first is email correspondence from Mr. Gordon Baker related to item 13 concerning the request from Nyan Oil to consider approval of a new access from Highway 140 to the Energy Park lands. And secondly, a comment sheet received from a member of the public today concerning the downtown Central District CIP improvement area.
Thank you, Ashley. Members of council, I need a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Danch, Councillor Elliott. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Disclosures of interest. Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have a conflict, an non-pecuniary conflict with bylaw number 5885/139/12, Jason King. Dr. King is our family doctor, and I would ask that we vote on that separately so I can vote on the other bylaws.
If we can separate those, that's great.
Please.
Members of council, are there any disclosures further? With none, we do have the minutes of the 43rd meeting regular of council dated November 26, 2012. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Bodnar, Councillor Doucette. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Moving on to items requiring a separate discussion. With none? Councillor Steele? Okay. Seconder. Councillor Doucette. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll now move on to the minutes of boards, commissions, and committees. I do have a set of minutes here from the downtown Port Colborne BIA meeting dated October 10th, 2012, and their meeting on November 14th, 2012. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Butters, Councillor Bodnar. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion? With none, Madam Clerk, the introduction of the bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the following bylaw be read first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw 5885-13912, being a bylaw to enter into an extension to a contract agreement with Dr. Jason King respecting a full-time family medicine practice in Port Colborne.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I have a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor Elliott, seconder. Councillor Desmarais, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. That the following bylaws be read three times and finally passed. Bylaw 5886-14012, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a contract agreement for architect services for the Port Colborne Operations Center Design Bid Build Project. Bylaw 5887-14112, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a contract agreement with Associated Engineering regarding the qualification of consulting services for the development of storm sewer system infrastructure needs study. Bylaw 5888-14212, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2013. Bylaw 5889-14312, a bylaw to establish penalty charges and interest charges on payments due to the municipality for 2013. Bylaw 5890-14412, a bylaw to authorize the temporary borrowing of $4 million for 2013. And finally, bylaw 5891-14512, being a bylaw to appoint the named Blue Knight security employees as bylaw enforcement officers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele. Seconder, Councillor Bodnar. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, confirmatory bylaw, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the following bylaws be read three times and finally, the following bylaw be read three times and finally passed. Bylaw 5892-14612, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne at its meeting of December 10, 2012.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Doucette, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. And before I ask for a motion to go into closed session, I do want to announce that our next meeting will be a special council meeting here at the Chamber, 6:30 p.m. And that'll be a meeting that will be discussing the transition going into the Valley Health and Wellness Center and from both the pool and the West Side Arena. Following that, we will be having a meeting on January 14th, once again here in the chamber, 6:30 p.m., Committee of the Whole and Council. And following that, the 28th of January, once again, Committee of the Whole and Council here in the chamber, beginning at 6:30 p.m. I also want to take this opportunity to highlight another retirement this evening. You thought I was going to forget, didn't you, Sue? This evening, Sue McIntyre is once again retiring. It'll be
Finally, right?
and it's a pleasure for me to recognize Sue as that person, that go-to person that's been here for quite some time, and who is here tonight with us for her last time. Sue McIntyre, our licensed clerk and minute taker at our council meetings, has decided for the second time that she is retiring from the city. Probably around February we'll get you back here again. No? And it's my pleasure to again recognize that. But Sue, when you retired in June of 2003, you went off to enjoy your husband, your children, and of course your upcoming grandchildren. And with that, after 6 years, we managed to lure you back here into the clerk's department, and you've been helping out Ashley quite a lot, and really enabled Ashley to really mature into the job when she came here into the city. And of course, she's done a fantastic job just doing that. And of course, being a wonderful clerk here in the city of Port Colborne. But licensed clerk, and more recently you joined us here every other week to record the minutes of our council meeting. Very exciting, I know. Something you look forward to, I'm sure. Well, we're on. You know, Dick's going to say to you, honey, you get a life. But Sue, after 3 years, now after 3 years, you and Dick have decided that it is really time to take some time off to yourselves and spend some time, and of course spend some time down in the sunny south and on the golf course, I'm sure. But good for you, and I speak on behalf of members of council, and but more importantly on behalf of members of the community to say thank you for all you've done. I do have a small presentation I want to make to you, but just something very small, but in recognition of how much your time here meant to both council and once again, most importantly, to the residents of Port Colborne. So I'm just going to step down there.
Really bugging you, right? It's just a number.
On behalf of all of us, enjoy.
Thank you, again.
Yes, you're welcome. You want to say anything? Sure. Go ahead. Help yourself.
I just really want to thank everyone. I don't know if the citizens of Port Colborne know that they have wonderful staff and council people. I mean, I learned a whole lot in this last year and a half doing this. I mean, you people really do care. Everybody works hard, and it's very sincere, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I would like to come back at maybe election or, but no, on a serious note though, it is a great place to work, live, and play. Absolutely. And thank everybody.
Now, Richard, that would be 7 o'clock on Tuesdays. I'm sure Sue will be sitting there with Dick watching our council meetings. We'll give you the odd hello. 11 o'clock now? Is it 11 o'clock now? No longer prime time?
Who bumped us? Littlest hobo, I knew it.
And lastly, before I ask for a motion to go into closed session, I do want to express to everyone out there in COGECO and the huge crowd that we got in the gallery, as well as to staff and council, by all means, may you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. Everyone's going to be celebrating at this time of year, but like the old saying goes, you know, all roads lead home during the holiday season. And I hope that everybody has that pleasure and that privilege to do just that, to come home and spend time with family and friends, and by all means, make it a safe holiday. And of course, we'll see you back here in 2013 for, I'm sure, a very exciting year here in the city of Port Colborne and throughout the region of Niagara. I got that chuckle there, Ron. But by all means, happy holidays to everybody and God bless. So with that, I will ask for a motion to go into closed session, to go on to deal with the minutes of the closed session portion of the November 26, 2012 council meeting. B, confidential community and corporate services clerk's division report 2001-43. Subject appointments to boards, commissions, and committees pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392B. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And lastly, a confidential verbal report for myself concerning the performance evaluation of the Chief Administrative Officer pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392B. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and 2392D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Doucette, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful holiday season.